Hello, friends. Welcome to Coding Garden. Welcome to a Friday stream where we are going to keep working with Deno version 2. So if you missed it, last Friday we started a project working with Deno. And if you missed the news about Deno, version 2 was released a few weeks ago. Lots of cool stuff in here. One of the main things I like is zero config apps. We don't need an ESLint config or a Prettier config. Everything just works with Deno. It's all built in. Most of the stuff is built in. And so what we're building is a YouTube caption downloader. The idea is I want to give my script a YouTube channel ID or multiple YouTube channel IDs. It should go out, get the video ID of every single YouTube video for that given channel. And then from there, we're going to download the subtitles for every single video. Last time we finished part 1, which is get the video IDs for every video across multiple channels. And we did that using the YouTube API. They have this search list endpoint where we can pass in channel ID and specify we only want videos back. And so we did that. And so we got that code working. Today, it's all about getting the transcripts. And we'll talk about my method of doing that, but sneak peek, we're going to be digging into some Python source code to see how this project does it, and then I'm going to replicate it inside of Deno. So that'll be fun if you've never seen Python before, or if you're ever scared of source code diving into other projects to see how they do things. But the whole point of all of this is eventually I want to be able to build a search tool that allows people to search across my channel, but it also searches the transcripts. So you could potentially search for Vue or React and then see every single stream and a specific timestamp in a stream where I talked about that specific thing. And we could also feed the transcripts into LLMs to do things like automatic chapter generation or automatic summaries. There's lots of stuff we can do once we actually have the data. So that's the plan. That's why we're here. And let's say hello to everybody. Let's welcome everybody in. After we welcome everyone in, I'll give you a quick rundown of the code that we wrote last time, and then we'll dive into that Python library, and I'll talk about why we need to do that. But yeah, good to see you all. Hello, 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 hello. Let me catch up real quick. Yeah. Welcome in, everyone. Good to see you. Good to see you. Have you heard of Bun? I have. But Deno, so just a quick note for anybody that's completely unfamiliar. Deno has been around for a while now. I think at least 5 years. And it's from the same creator of node.js. And if you're new in this space, you might have heard of Bun. And you're like, what, is this just a Bun competitor? No, Bun is a Deno competitor. You got it swapped. But they both have similar goals. They want to be fast. They want to be better than node.js. So yeah. Yeah, welcome in, Woodsiger. It has been a long time. It's good to see you. We don't lint configuration, but if you decide you want some specific style, I guess you can. Yeah, I haven't done this just yet, but if you look in this Deno project, there are no configs. Really, the only configs we have are our Deno setup and then our environment variable files. If you look at our Deno script, it has a format script. So format is built into Deno. That'll just run the formatter. And then check is a type checker. That's just built in. I don't even have a lint task here. But technically, I could add a lint task, which is just Deno lint. What SRG learn code is mentioning is like, well, what if you want to enable or disable certain rules? It's definitely possible. I haven't looked into it yet, but yeah. At that point, you probably would have a config. But I think the nice thing is if you can accept the defaults, then you don't have to worry about all that. Yeah. Well, Deno 2.0 finally killed Node.js. No, I think Deno 2 is going to be... Deno 2 is the first big milestone in Deno becoming more dominant in the space. Nothing is ever going to kill Node.js because so much has been built on top of it. And companies aren't just going to switch to the latest and greatest thing. But part of the Deno 2 release is huge backwards compatibility with NPM modules and the ability to run most Node.js projects. So you can slowly convert to using Deno. Like you could switch to using Deno install instead of npm install. You don't even have to use Deno to run your code. You can switch to using Deno task run to start running the scripts inside of your package JSON. And then slowly start incorporating Deno into your workflow. And then eventually when you spin up a new project, you might choose Deno instead of Node. That's the future that we're looking at right now. So we're looking at Python to write it in a superior language, pretty much. Yeah. I'm not here to claim that JavaScript and TypeScript is superior. I just know it well, so that's what I'm going to use. Yeah. Svelte 5, yeah, Svelte 5 got its release. It's pretty cool. If you haven't checked it out, over on the Syntax channel, Scott did a full walkthrough on the basics of Svelte 5. So if you want to learn Svelte 5, definitely go check out this video. But yeah, they got a brand new version. It introduced runes, which, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of, but I get it. I know why they exist. But, yeah, it's a thing. Have I heard of pretzel, like the food? JetBrains JavaScript Day was yesterday. That's interesting. I didn't read the article, but I saw a news headline that was like, JetBrains is now free to use or something like that. Yeah, welcome in, Obi-Wan Yunomi. Good to see you. Why not use Hono? Because Hono is for building APIs. Hono is not a runtime. Hono can run on pretty much any runtime. So you can run a Hono app inside of Deno or inside of Node or inside of Bun or inside of Cloudflare workers. But the app that I'm building isn't really meant to be an API. This specific application is kind of just meant to maybe run in the background on a server. Like I might have this as a cron job where once a day, it goes and gets any of the latest videos from the YouTube channel, downloads the transcripts, and then eventually indexes them so that they can be searched. And so this just like lives on a server somewhere. After that, I might build a Hono API that interacts with the downloaded data, but I think this whole process of getting all this transcripts and downloads and everything, that's more so like a one-off script versus like just putting that inside of an API. Why should I switch from Node to Deno v2? You shouldn't. I mean, like, I'm not saying you should. I'm saying it's nice. I think there are a lot of benefits. The benefits of less configs, the benefits of faster installs, the benefits of more security. So there are benefits. I would say that. Yeah. JavaScript killed Flash, so it's possible. Or maybe it's just because Flash was a pain to use. No, I think Apple killed Flash. So Apple's decision to not include Flash on the iPhone was the initial thing that basically made it so that Flash would not prevail. I hear that runes have ruined Svelte 5. They haven't ruined it. I wouldn't go as far as to say that runes ruined Svelte. I do think that it used to be that when you looked at a basic and also, I haven't even seen I haven't even looked at the new docs. I haven't even looked through here. Yeah, so runes have this first section. But yeah, so it used to be that in Svelte, every single variable you defined was a reactive variable by default. Just by default. But there are some gotchas and caveats of having everything reactive by default. So in Svelte 5, they introduced this idea of kind of like an opt-in reactivity. So instead of making every variable reactive by default, now you have this $state rune. And it's important to note that $state is like a compiler macro. It's an indicator to the compiler, to the Svelte compiler, that this should be a reactive variable. It's not a hook function like you see in React or a composition function like you see in Vue. However, the syntax looks like it is. And it's one more thing that I have to type when I'm defining my variables, which makes it feel like hooks in React or composition functions in Vue. So I know that these are not hooks. I know that. But when you look at it and when anybody else looks at it, that's what they think of. And so that's one of the biggest things people are going to have to get used to. But with the introduction of runes, they've done like a whole restructure internally. And at the end of the day, your reactive code will be simpler now that you can actually specifically choose what should be reactive. And they have other compiler macros as well, like derived. So it used to be that they had the reactive declaration, which was $:, and then anything after that colon would automatically rerun or recalculate when its dependencies changed. But because everything is reactive by default, you could get into some infinite dependency loops. Now derived is like computed. So essentially, if this dependency ever changes, this value over here is going to change. And so this is a like a more explicit way of defining reactive stuff. And then effects are similar to derived, but with just more code, right? You can pass a function in that will rerun if any of its dependents change. They have a new, more explicit way of defining props. I don't know why I'm going into this Svelte 5 release. Oh, and thank you, Carl. Thank you for the sub. Is that over on YouTube? Appreciate that. Why am I going into this? I got sidetracked. All of this to say, it didn't ruin Svelte. It's just, it doesn't feel as magic anymore. And that's one of the things that I really liked about Svelte is that I could just write my code and it would just be reactive and it just works. But I get it. I get why they introduced all this stuff. What else? Oh yeah, you can still use the old way. Basically, if a component uses a rune, you can only use runes. But if a component doesn't use runes, then you can use the old way as well. So they still support the old way, and I think they'll support the old way at least for this next version. Yeah, Next 15 came out. That's a thing. Welcome in, Ahmed. Good to see you. Yeah, they're not forcing you to use runes. Yeah, what's up, Sledge Dog? Good to see you. Things at Syntax have been good. The issue with non-React and Angular frameworks is that it's much harder to get a job in. Yeah, I completely agree. React and Angular dominate the market. Companies use them. Yeah. If someone starts to learn JavaScript, should he learn Node, Deno 2, or Bun as the first one? None. Just learn JavaScript and then pick one of these to run your JavaScript code. All of these have specific methods that'll tie to like operating system code, like writing to the file system and spinning up processes and stuff like that. But all of those are APIs for Node, Deno, or Bun. If someone wants to learn JavaScript first, and then you use these other things to run your codes. But I would say you could start using Deno too. The other idea about it being a slow on-ramp is most of the tutorials and stuff that you come across out there are using Node.js. And so if you're trying to figure out how to do something, but you want to do it inside of Deno, there's going to be a lot of back and forth in terms of maybe translating some Node code that you see into Deno. The nice thing is that Deno has support for most built-in Node modules, so like FS and Path and all of the other built-in Node modules. So you could just use those directly, but eventually you want to get to using the direct Deno methods, ways of doing that. So yeah. Is it really more secure, or is it just makes you be the responsible for allowing the app to do certain things? Yeah, that's what we mean by more secure, in that right now with Node.js, there are no security checks at all. Basically, anything you install from NPM has full access to your computer, full write access, full network access. It can do literally any package you install from NPM can do anything on your machine. And the idea with Deno is you explicitly opt into those permissions. And so if you were to, if you're running your Deno script and you don't expect it to be reading or writing from the file system or accessing environment variables or making network calls, and then you install some package, and now all of a sudden Deno is alerting you, hey, your script is trying to make a request out to some endpoint. Now you can be like, oh, that dependency is doing potentially some malicious things or some things that I didn't know about. That's the main thing. I will say their permissions model needs a little bit of work, because it would be nice to define permissions at the dependency level instead of at the whole process level, because if you're already allowing all of those permissions and then you install some other dependency, there's not really any insight into what it's doing. Yeah, so I would say it makes it more secure in that you have to opt in to do those kinds of things. Yeah. Yeah. What's up? Yeah, and this gets exactly into what I talked about last time. So I'm researching a video right now that I'm going to do over on the Syntax channel that talks about Deno v2 and using Deno v2. I've been in my personal life, I've been using Deno v2 for everything. So I write a lot of little one-off scripts. I'm doing a lot of like various things, and for the past week, I have started every project with Deno v2, and there's a lot of things, a lot of notes that I'm taking along the way. And so I'm making a video that's going to take all of that into account. But to demonstrate the potential issue of installing something from NPM, I published this package to NPM. It's called State-of-the-Art Truth Detection, State-of-the-Art True. And whenever you call it, whatever you pass in, if you pass in true, it'll give you back true. Anything else, it'll give you back false. So a lot of JavaScript developers need this in their application. But as a bonus, whenever you run this function, this will also console log every single potentially secure file on your file system that this script has read access to. So it'll show you that it could have read your SSH keys. It'll show you it could have read your Vercel deploy keys, your AWS keys. And that's because when you're running a program with Node.js, any module has full read-write access to the file system. So this is just a proof of concept to show you that, hey, when you install random packages from npm, they have full access to your file system. That everyone knows how to do. Does stream go down? Okay, if you're watching on YouTube and you can still see me, let me know. Actually, I guess I can double check. The stream should not be down. I don't have any dropped frames. Yeah. No. It maybe it got shut down by npm. It's possible that Twitch is having issues. Yeah, so I don't know of any way. I think one potential way, honestly, this might be, this is a good idea. What if you have a little one-off Deno script that installs the package that you're trying to audit and then like runs the function, and then Deno will tell you all of the permissions that package tried to use. Ooh, has anybody done that? That's a great idea. It's like a little package auditor. Like, this reads to the file system at these locations. This makes network calls to this endpoint. Yeah, that would be cool. Put that on the list of good ideas. Yeah. Yeah, Next.js 15, like, they removed like the default caching and stuff like that. Write that down. Yeah, no, so yeah, we can talk about that. So I published a video over on Syntax about Open Free Map. So if you go to the Syntax channel, I made this video, Free Maps for Any App, and it talks about how you can use Map Libre and Open Free Map to get free maps inside of your mapping applications. So check it out here if you haven't yet. But Hypernaut, the creator of Open Free Map, published a blog and also published this. And this was like pretty quickly after I published my my video. They're like, Open Free Map is getting popular. I might need to add some more servers. Right now, it's at 180 megabytes per second and running, which potentially result in like 120 terabytes of bandwidth per month. I saw the tweet and I was like, oh, dang. Like, did my video get too much attention so that more and more people were using Open Free Map? And it turns out it was literally just one usage of Open Free Map. And I think they talked about it in the replies here. Like, I believe Tyler, the creator, is launching a new album, Chromacopia. And the creator of their website embedded a map on the website. So when you go to this site and you scroll down, there's this map right here, which looks really cool. So in my video, I talk about how you can do custom styles on maps. But this map is loading the tiles from Open Free Map. And because Tyler, the creator, is a very big artist and it's by Sony Music, like, this website is getting a ton of traffic. So every single person that comes to this website is loading map tiles from Open Free Map's tile server. And that is resulting in tons and tons of requests. They actually did the math. This is actually really cool to see. They did the math and they said, if the creator of this site would have used Mapbox instead, they would be getting roughly a $400,000 a month bill. Or if they're using MapTiler, like a $300,000 per month bill. And their servers are able to hold up. Like, Open Free Map hasn't gone down. And so the fact that they can serve the amount of traffic that would cost like almost $500,000 for a dedicated server that only costs $175 a month is a testament to like their cloud tile server and not having to use like commercial services. But they wrote a really good blog post. So check out this tweet here. And Hypernaut isn't mad at me for making that video. He actually has some very nice words to say about the video that I made. So CJ created a fantastic video on YouTube about this project. It's a great resource that contains a lot of information about the background of online maps and even has code examples in 5 different frameworks. And then in the last few days, the traffic started skyrocketing. So, I mean, I don't know if the person building that website for Tyler, the creator, saw my video. Maybe they did. Maybe someone else saw the video and they told them, hey, you should use OpenFreeMap. But what Hypernaut points out, and I think I'm going to make a video on this because it's actually something that people don't realize you can do, which is for this specific example, you don't need a full tile server, right? The only purpose of this little embed, like you could do this with just a plain old SVG to get this experience, right? Literally the only thing that they want is an interactive map that I believe I think these are going to be like pop-up shops or something like that. And so you could just have an SVG map that doesn't require a map tile server. It literally just renders these as polygons, and the users would get the same experience because you don't actually need it for this specific instance. You don't need the case where when a user zooms in, they actually see like street data. And there's a way to do that with GeoJSON. So check out Hypernaut's blog post here as well. It's basically the same thing as the tweet. But they talk about how, yeah, you don't need this. You don't need a map tile server for this. You can use GeoJSON, which is a specification for defining points and geometries that can be overlaid on a map. And if you look at geojson.xyz, they show a lot of examples. So if you click into any one of these examples, they show like drawing a map. But whenever you see, but looking at the code example, this doesn't talk to a map tile server. So this is using Leaflet, and then they're just adding that JSON as a feature layer. So no map tiles required, and then they get this little experience here. And this literally only is a 130 kilobyte download. There's no reason to make requests to a map tile server. And so this specific example, you could recreate with GeoJSON and like SVG shapes without actually needing to talk to a map tile server. So I might even do a video on that. That's like, you might not need a map tile server. So yeah, that's a thing. But yeah, first of all, shout out to Hypernaut for keeping the service up and going, even though all of that traffic is coming in. What's also interesting to see is that Hypernaut, I think he just, he added, oh, wow, nice. He's getting a bunch of sponsors from other people as well. That's awesome. Heck yeah. But yeah, the CEO of Cloudflare, isn't this the, co-founder and CEO of Cloudflare is in the replies. That's like, we could probably do this cheaper than what you're paying now. And then there's some other people responding as well. Okay, I'm behind on chat. I need to catch up, and then we'll get started at coding. But yeah, all that's it's interesting stuff. Yeah. Trying to find motivation to build a side project with a stack I'm not fond of. Gotta please the recruiters who are looking for language-specific experience. Yeah, sometimes you just gotta, if you're trying to find a job. Can I deploy a React frontend on Vercel and a Java backend on someplace like Railway? How would they talk to each other? APIs. Did it go down again? Are you just joking, Woodsiger? Yeah, so build an API with Spring Boot, host that somewhere wherever you can. That's going to expose some JSON endpoints, and then you talk to that from a React app. That's the way to go. I love that Deno asks you for permissions, but if you give rewrite or network access, then all of the dependencies get that? Yes. Right now, that is the case. That is the case. All right. Catching up. Oh, and thank you, Eddie, who said that my video was pretty good about maps. If a package reads files from a set timeout, then can that anonymous function be tracked down to that package? If you have some kind of tracing and debugging and you can like see where function calls are happening, you could potentially see when that function got called. But yeah. Tyler, the creator of what? He's a musician. He's just a musician. Is that sustainable for OpenFreeMap? Apparently they're able to keep it up and going. And I think it's also interesting to see that thread and replies, because it almost seems like even Cloudflare could offer up a free tile service because of their global infrastructure and because they can do stuff for so cheap already. They could even offer offer a free tile server that competes with Mapbox, which is charging a ton of money, or Google Maps that's charging a ton of money. Yeah. You should do a video about making a modern CLI in Node TypeScript one day. Here's the thing. Deno has a built-in module for doing CLI tools. Minimist. Well, it's not built into Deno, but it's built into the standard library, which has a lot of the core contributors of Deno. So instead of using the Minimist package, use the standard library CLI, and then this gives you like parser functions and stuff like that. If this is live, say hi, Chad. What's up, Chad? It's harder for me to pay attention to the live chat because I'm trying to catch up on the older chat here. Yeah. To have a framework on how to plan a project, how do you decide if you start with the front end or with the back end? You do all you can on each side before moving to the other. This really just comes down to like project planning and project management. In the world of agile, like if you were building a product for a company, typically, if you're doing it the agile way, you would more so want what are called feature slices, right? So that at the end of the day, you're building software to bring business value. And if you only have an API and no front end for your users, that's not very valuable to the business. And if you only have a front end and no actual working back end, that's not valuable to the business either. So a feature slice, which would include everything you would need in the back end for one feature and everything you would need in the front end for one feature, and everything you would need in the database for one feature, that makes a whole lot more sense to actually bring business value. So typically, if you're doing this in the real world and for money and such, it would make more sense to do both, right? So build out the features one at a time across the full stack. I don't know if I have any videos on this directly. I will say that a long time ago, almost like 4 years ago, on the Coding Garden channel, we started a thing called the community project. It didn't get completed, but we had a bunch of meetings on Git workflow and how we were going to use Trello to manage tasks and stuff like that. This could help you, but I think ultimately what you want to search for to find good resource is project management, right? So how do you break down all of this stuff into stories? And again, I'm talking from the perspective of agile, and I'm using like agile terms, but really it's just about project management. So yeah, you want to break things down into stories, and then for each story, you can figure out, okay, what do I need for the back end versus what do I need for the front end? Yeah. Do I have let me find the playlist for you if it exists, because there might be some interesting info in there for you. Coding Garden Cemetery website. There are a lot of dead projects on Coding Garden. It is true. It's the nature of trying to do things live and then running out of steam, running out of initiative, running out of time. This is an unpublished playlist. Should these videos be public? This playlist should be public. Because in this playlist, I talk about what Agile is. I talk about Waterfall. I talk about Scrum. I talk about Git workflow, and then like reviewing PRs and stuff. So yeah, this playlist, the videos in it are cut down too. So the Coding Garden Compost Factory. That playlist might help you out just learning about project management. There are other better, more curated resources as well. Yeah. I use Google Maps for free. I mean, you can, but you might run into usage limits. Yeah. Yeah. I would say if you've written your user stories in the correct way, I mean, obviously you can write your user stories however you want, but there is a better way of writing, like user stories should be from the user's perspective. So a user story that says, as a front-end developer, I want ESLint set up in my repo, that's not a user story. That's more of a chore or a task. So if a user story is written from the perspective of a user, then it very likely will include front-end tasks and back-end tasks. Yeah. Eating pizza, nice hedgehog. They're not dead, they're just resting. It's true. I don't know what that is, Avi. You remember that you talked about what I talked about 5 years ago? It's because I have a record of it. Yeah. Have you used React Toolkit Query before? I have not. Yeah. All right. Let me get a drink of water and let's write some code. Well, I have to say, I didn't say hello to everybody yet. Let me say hello. And then we'll write some code. Is there a blueprint for user stories? Where to learn this topic? I would just search the web for what makes a good agile user story. You could also ask ChatGPT. I'm sure there's lots of blog posts been written on this that ChatGPT was trained on. Examples and a template. What are user stories? Maybe you should also search what is a bad user story. Identify and improving bad user stories. Do this. Search for this. find popular blog posts. You'll find some good info. Okay. For those of you that oh no, let me say hello and then we'll write the code. Speaking of ESLint, I'm struggling to set it up. I wanted to do it for formatting first, then dive into actual linting. Do you have any good resources? Ended up installing Prettier instead. Boy, do I have the video for you. Yeah, exactly, Hedgehog. I made a video talking about basically just use AntFoo's ESLint config because it's zero config and handles most, like all the setup that you might need. So in that video, I talk about AntFoo's ESLint config. Basically, AntFoo created a repo with a bunch of ESLint plugins and settings, and then makes it so that you can get ESLint up and going with like a single line of config, and then you can modify it from there. User stories are short, simple descriptions of what a user wants to achieve. They are written from the user's perspective, and they help us understand the needs of our users. It's true. It's true. Right, let's say hello to everybody. If you would like me to say hello to you or acknowledge you, notice you in the chat, say hi, hello, hello, hey, yo, cheers, greetings, hi, up, what's up, afternoon, morning, evening, howdy, good day, coding, hi-yo, vohio, or bogahe. Say any one of these things, and I will notice you. I'll acknowledge you. We're going to go back in time. 42 minutes ago, Ariane was the first to say hello. What's up, Ariane? Good to see you. What's up, Waleed and SQL Gorgster, America 2050, and No Name. What's up, Milan and Bayazid and Stony Eagle. What's up, Moshiko and Anoop and Egg Salatus. Hello, hello. What's up, Hi Stony and Woodziger and Nukes and Avi and Obi-Wan Yanobi. What's up, Crafty Becky? Good to see you. I saw Crafty Becky in the Denver Halloween parade. So yeah, good to see you, Crafty Becky. What's up, Crazy Vulcan and Andre? And Matthew Miranda, good to see you. What's up, Zendrick and Ched and Zweets and Oprahs and Irosum, Simon, good to see you. What's up, Mark Boots and Blazing Phoenix and Hedgehog and Better Call Paul and Quate and It's Not DG. What's up, Calvaria and Aubrey and Gordon Lee and BJ Sebastian. Happy Friday to you as well. Welcome in, everyone. And Johnny, good to see you. What's up, Dev Henrique? Hello, hello. Hello, hello. And Andre is mentioning also because there are tutorials of ESLint and Prettier, and then other people are saying that one only needs ESLint. It's so confusing. Yeah. So check out I'll show you the repo too. So check out AntFoo's ESLint config. And AntFoo actually talks about why he prefers using ESLint and not Prettier. So he'll clear up some of that for you. And there's a blog post that you should check out. Yeah, so he has this blog post called Why I Don't Use Prettier, and it will cover that issue and basically give you a reason. Like, obviously, you don't have to agree with his opinion, but that's why he doesn't use Prettier and why he uses ESLint instead. And because of that, he actually started an ESLint plugin called ESLint Stylistic, which basically gives you formatting-like rules inside of ESLint. So basically, it's like Prettier rules inside of ESLint, but you don't have to use Prettier. And this repo also has a why of why you would use this over something like Prettier. So that should help you out. I don't think I got rid of pronouns. Is that what America 2050 just said? Are they not shown anymore? Maybe there's just a bug in the UI. Yeah, I saw that, Eddie. The Vohio was not included. What's up, I am Roos? Good to see you. And Izzy Silva, good to see you too. We haven't started yet. No, we've just been catching up on chat. What's up, William Cameron? I need to respond to your Twitter DM. I'm going to make a note of it right now because I have some time today. I will respond to you today. I promise. Honestly, it's on my to-do list on my work computer. I'm going to respond to you. I promise. Okay. For those of you just joining us, we are using Deno version 2 to build a YouTube subtitle downloader. And welcome in, EP Sloth. First time here. Good to see you. So Deno v2 was released a few weeks ago. It's got a lot of cool stuff. And you can check out their blog post. Also check out the last live stream we did where we talked about what's cool about Deno 2. But basically, if you're new to all of this, Deno lets you run JavaScript programs on servers or on computers directly. Very similar to node.js, very similar to Bun. And what's cool about it is it has a bunch of stuff built in. So in the world of JavaScript, there are so many libraries and ways of doing formatting for your code and linting for your code, and testing and all of this other stuff, and all of these are built into Deno. So what's nice is eventually, once a lot of projects are on Deno, you'll see a whole lot less configs in projects. I mean, just a simple example of the config nightmare that you'll get into in larger JavaScript code bases. So this is a project called Listed. It was built with SvelteKit, and it's running on Node.js. And look at this. We have an ESLint config. We have a lint stage config. An npm-rc, I think this is for code coverage, this nyc-rc. We have our prettier config and ignore, that's for formatting. We have our like our type safe. Well, that's just like a type safe config. We also have like all of our Docker files. Those would probably still exist. We have our playwright config, our post-CSS config, our Svelte config. There's just a bunch of configs. Any JavaScript project you come across has a bunch of configs inside of it. And all of this stuff being built into Deno is going to make it so that there's just a few less configs at the root. And so if you look at this project that we're working on, the only config we have is our deno.json. That's it. And this just has a few scripts we can run, and it lists our two dependencies here. But we have linting, we have formatting, we have type checking. We don't need anything extra for that. We can just use Deno. Okay, so that's Deno v2. If you want to learn more about it, go check out the last live stream. We're building this tool, which is eventually going to allow us to do plain text search across every YouTube video and live stream that I have ever made. And the first step in that process was getting all of the YouTube video IDs from the YouTube API. So we did that last time on stream. Essentially, we wrote some Deno code that called this specific endpoint and then got all of the YouTube video IDs for my specific channel ID and then put those inside of a cache. So that's what we wrote last time. This time, for each one of those video IDs, I want to go out and get the transcript from YouTube. And to do that, I am going to read this Python code and then re-implement this Python code inside of Deno instead. But I'll walk you through the code that we've written so far. So here inside of main, we're using Deno key value. So Deno key value, it's an experimental feature right now. But what's nice is once you start using it, if you deploy with Deno deploy, it'll just start working there as well, which is pretty cool. And basically, it's just a key value store in your codes. Think of it almost like a Redis database, if you're familiar with Redis, but it's built right into Deno. And this is really great if you want to store like persistent preferences. What's up, Opti? Good to see you. You were watching part 1? Nice. I'm giving a quick recap of everything that happened in part 1. And so because for my specific codes here, I wanted to save all of those video IDs, I'm saving those video IDs with Deno key value. And so think of it as you can have keys, you can have values. The values can be objects, numbers, strings, and the keys can be like a complex compound key, or it can just be an individual like string key. Vercel key value is just a wrapper of Upstash. Upstash is just an HTTP layer on top of Redis. So Redis. But yeah, so this is Deno key value, and basically I'm using it to keep track of this stuff. So if I run the script again, it doesn't have to do extra work. And we have an environment variable set up. So one of the nice things about Deno is it has interop with npm. So we actually installed Zod from npm. You can see here in our deno.json, Zod is being pulled in from npm. You'll see there's no node modules folder here because when you're in a pure Deno project, Deno actually stores those node modules like in a cached location. So we are describing the project right now, Genoa, right now. So we're using Zod, and that actually allowed us to get a type-safe environment variables. So we have two things that we need. We need our YouTube API key to call the YouTube API, and we also need our channel IDs to figure out which channels are we going to get all the video IDs for. But one thing is I want to provide multiple. So in my .env file, I specify a comma-separated list of my Coding Garden YouTube channel ID and the Coding Garden archive YouTube channel ID. But with this Zod parser, I can take that in, split it on commas, and then now I have a type that says, hey, channel IDs is actually going to be an array, which is pretty cool. So I have this validator. This validates the env whenever the Deno program starts up. And if there are any missing environment variables, the Deno program will crash. But if we're good to go, then this thing will actually run, and we'll grab that array of channel IDs out of from there after it's already been parsed. Whenever we're going to get the latest sets of videos, first of all, we have two keys. We have the videos that are stored in the key value store, and then we also have the last video that we found the last time we ran this script, and that's stored in the key value store. And so here we grab that from the key value store. So the idea is that I can, and I'll do this in a second, if I run this script, it's going to find only the latest videos that aren't already in the key value store. So it doesn't have to hit the YouTube API a bunch and like get all of my videos again. Those are stored in the key value store. When I run this script, it's going to find one new video because I've only done one new video since the last time I ran the script, which is this live stream. So the last video ID that it pulls here will be the video ID of the live stream I did last week. Then we reach out to the YouTube API. So this function calls the YouTube API. We know what the last video ID is. So after getting the first page of results, we say, hey, is that video ID in there? If it is, we don't need to request the rest of the results. Then we get back that list of latest videos. We grab all of the existing videos that are in the key value store. And then we need to figure out what are the real new videos that don't exist in the key value store just yet. And so that's what all of this code does. And then we could detect, okay, we have 1, 2, 3 new videos. Then we put those new videos into the key value store. That's the program that we wrote. So if I do Deno task, first of all, if I do Deno task, it'll tell me what tasks I have. So I have Deno task start, which is going to run the script. It's going to do the business. And if we did everything right, and we wrote the code right last time, it should find one new video, which is this video that is happening right now. So Deno task start. There we go. So this is the YouTube channel ID for Coding Garden, this channel. This is the YouTube channel ID for the Coding Garden archive. Yeah, so right now, if you're using the key value store inside of just plain old Deno, you do have to use unstable KB. But it worked. Look at that. It found one new video, and now our cache, our key value store has all of the video IDs for the Coding Garden YouTube channel and the Coding Garden archive. Great, great. So we have all the video IDs and like a little bit of metadata about each video. Now we want to go get the transcripts for every video. And that's what this project is about. So step 1, get the video IDs. Step 2, get all of this transcripts. Step 3, create vector embeddings or do some kind of thing with all of those transcripts so that we can easily search across them. Because I want to make it so that people can basically plain search step 3 is profit. I can basically, anybody could type in Vue versus React. And then every single live stream where I talked about Vue versus React or comparing Vue to React will pop up. And then you could potentially have like embedded clips that go to a specific timestamp where I was talking about that. So the idea is I've done so many live streams, like so many. And a lot of times, like like you saw at the beginning of the stream, I'm doing a lot of talking and rambling, but there's no way to like index that, and like it never was clipped. So a year from now, a week from now, somebody could go type in open free maps. It's basically every stream that happens. But a week from now, if this were the way it is, somebody could type in open free maps and it would link to the clip where I was talking about open free maps. And Connery, thank you very much for that Prime sub. I appreciate that. That's the end goal. We're pretty far away from that because now we need to actually get the transcripts. All right, is everybody following? Any questions before we write the code to get the transcripts? Yeah. Are we getting rate limited today? So if you saw last time, the YouTube API with your basic API keys are There's a certain rate limit. And because I had, the main issue is I had Deno watch enabled. So another cool thing about Deno is it has built-in file watching. You don't need NodeMon. I guess the latest version of Node has built-in file watching too, but you could pass in -- watch. But what I didn't realize is as I was writing all the codes to call the YouTube API, it was recalling it every time I saved my file, and that ate into all of my quota for the day. I guess I didn't actually show the code that calls the YouTube API, but here it is. So we're calling the search endpoint. We're saying we only want videos, give us 50 results for this specific channel ID and order it by date. So by ordering by date, we know that we're going to get them in the same order every time. And then this does a paginated request. So once it gets back the results, if there was a page token, then it requests it again. So the first time we ran this, it went out and got like over 400 videos. But now it's going to make one request, see that latest video ID is in the first page of results, and then only return the first page of results. So yeah, that's the code that actually calls the API. Yeah, I mean, Cameron has a great, or William Cameron has a great idea there. That's like a potential another use case here is train an LLM on everything I've ever said before. You could literally have a CJ code helper that teaches you in the style of CJ. Yeah. There's a lot we could do once we have all of this data, for sure. These are automated transcripts from YouTube, right? Yes, they are. And what's up, Dropmania? Good to see you. But they're automated. Yeah, I don't have any sort of service that is transcribing my videos. I'm just using the automated transcriptions. Okay. Is that permission to build an AI? I mean, no. Talk to me directly. Okay, so we need the transcripts. If you look at the YouTube Data API documentation, they have an endpoint for captions. And then, first of all, we would need to hit two endpoints. First, we would need to list all of the captions for a given video. And this is going to cost us 50 quota units. If you use Deno with watch, will it ask for permissions from the packages every time? It'll look very similar to what I have here, where you're already allowing network permissions because that's the minimum that you need for Deno, and then you'd probably allow env as well. So those would already be here, and then if you add -watch, even if any other packages are using those permissions, it's not going to ask you as long as you have passed in the permission flags there. But yeah, so first of all, get the ID. First of all, get the list of captions for a given video ID. Then, once we know what the caption IDs are, then we can call the download endpoint, which will allow us to download a specific caption by ID. There's a few issues here. First of all, this requires a lot of quota units. If I tried to download the transcripts for 414 videos plus 149, so 563 videos, and we need to list the captions for every one. So if I did 563 times 50, we're at 28,000 quota units. And then that's going to be added onto the number of quota units for each transcript download. So 563 times 200, because it's 200 quota units for each download. So if I wanted to use the YouTube API to download every single yeah, this is Raycast. Every single transcript for every video across those two channels, it would cost 140,000 quota API quota units. You only get 10,000 per day for free. You can request an increase, but if we only got 10,000 per day, how many days would it take us if we did it only 10,000 at a time? It would take us 14 days to get all the data we need without an API quota increase. So it's not viable. Yeah, so it would take us 2 weeks. Now, so that's one thing. Like, I mean, you could talk about quota all day, and technically I actually do have a quota API increase, and they'll they'll give it out for legitimate use cases, right? If you're building a tool like this, it'll take some time. You have to get approved, but you could increase your quota. So because I have YouTube chat in this overlay here, I have an increased quota for that specific API key because I'm calling the YouTube chat API and getting new results and stuff like that. So that's one thing. The other aspect is this download endpoint requires OAuth. So in order to just list the YouTube IDs for a given channel, you don't need to use OAuth. All you need is an API key, right? Because that's publicly available data, right? But to download a caption, you need OAuth. You need to be doing this in the context of a user. And that's very tricky to do if you're doing it from some automated process. If you're doing it from like a command line tool that's going to run once a day, it's possible. You would potentially need to build like a dashboard where the user can log in, and then that stores their authentication token and their refresh token. And now that they have the refresh token, the automated process can keep it refreshed and make requests on behalf of that user. But it's a lot. It's a lot to implement. So I don't want to do that. And we're going to try to figure out how this script is doing it. So this is a script written in Python that makes a request directly to YouTube and then actually pulls the captions out of the response. So this Python API allows you to get the transcript subtitles for a given YouTube video. It also works for automatically generated captions, and it does not require an API key or a headless browser. Now, is this against the YouTube terms of service? Possibly. But the way that they're doing this is via making a request directly to YouTube. I spelled demo. No, Deno. Deno, not demo. What's the title of this YouTube video? Yeah, Deno. But welcome in, BTD. Good to see you. Well, first time seeing you, but welcome. Welcome to the Coding Garden. Okay. There's an ad break that's about to start. When the ads are over, we're going to dive into this Python code. And I want to figure out how they're doing this, because how do they do this with no API key or no Selenium or anything else like that? So after the ad break, we'll figure that out. Deno. How's everybody doing, though? We've been live for an hour. Happy Friday. Yeah, no worries, BTD. Deno, and well, since you're new here, Deno is a runtime for JavaScript. So node.js is the main runtime that a lot of people use. But there's been newer ones like Bun. Deno is another one of these. And so basically we can write JavaScript code that runs on the back end with Deno. Yeah. I'm live on Twitch as well. Yeah, twitch.tv/codinggarden. Procrastinating with CJ today. Yeah. I shall not mention how you can bypass the API. We're just not, I mean, I've looked into these things. There's someone has built the YouTube operational API, but they actually got a cease and desist. They had a public instance of this, and they got a cease and desist from YouTube. But basically, they wrote a full API that scrapes from YouTube all of the things that you can't get directly from the YouTube API, because that's one of the other issues of the YouTube data APIs. There are certain things on the YouTube site that it doesn't have available just yet. And so this API has scrapers for all the parts and pieces that aren't available in the real API just yet. Yeah. So when using Deno, can you still use npm? Yeah, so that's one of the cool things about Deno v2 is you can actually just do a Deno install. And so in this repo, I did a Deno install of npm Zod. And that actually installs Zod from npm in my Deno project. And it listed in my dependencies here. And then I can just use it. So inside of my schema validator, I am pulling Zod in, but it was actually installed from npm. It turns out, I think Zod actually is on Deno land. I just read about this. So technically we didn't need to use npm. Yeah, so technically you could pull it in from Deno land, but they're not published on JSR. And so JSR is the more modern thing for hosting packages. Like, technically, I could have pulled it in directly here. Is that the same version? They probably have 3.23, but yeah. Should packages start publishing to Deno land? They should try. I guess that's the other thing is, I guess you could mix and match, right? You could install from Deno land, you can install from JSR, you could install from npm. You could also install from anywhere that actually like lists or that hosts a JavaScript or TypeScript file. Are there any advantages of pulling packages from Deno land over npm? They're just different places to host packages. So if you host anything on Deno land, typically you're saying that this is like only compatible with Deno. Anything hosted on npm tries to be compatible with stuff that's like ECMAScript modules and then also CommonJS modules, and might not necessarily be doing like node specific things or bun specific things. But yeah, Deno land is kind of reserved for things that are specific to Deno. JSR is more like npm, but the idea is you don't have to have any sort of build process. So with JSR, you can publish your packages directly as TypeScript, and you don't have to worry about building. I talked about this in the last video, but I published a package to npm that I want to work in older versions of Node and in the latest version of Node, and just getting the build script correctly for the actual published built stuff to npm was quite a pain. So if you look at my package here, and really if you look at any package on npm and you click on this code tab here, you can see that packages are actually shipping built code. So right here I have my dist directory, and then the way I got this working is I'm building two different ways. I have a folder where I built all of my ECMAScript modules, and then I have a different folder where I built it for CommonJS, which is like using require and module.exports. And so it was a pain to figure all of that out. And any package that you see published on npm also has to figure this out, and they also might have some like different build process or whatever else. But the nice thing about JSR is you don't need any build process. As long as you publish compliant JavaScript and TypeScript, they'll do the building, they'll do the validating and everything else. Yeah. Yeah. JSR is a new thing. A bad user could upload, let's say, Express in package, but with malicious code. I don't know if they prevent like package squatting. It's possible that everything has to be namespaced. Yeah, I think one way to get around this is everything on JSR has to be behind a namespace. Because you can see even the standard library is at std. I would think that's how they've done it. What's another popular Node or npm package? Like React. Yeah, I think everything has to be namespaced on JSR, which makes a lot of sense. It prevents typo squatting or people stealing names and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah. Everything has to be namespaced published to JSR. I saw someone ask, what are the benefits of Deno? I talked about it in the last live stream. Like, it's not just that things are built in. There are also security aspects of it. I talked about that in my last live stream and talked about how literally anything you're running from npm has full access to your file system and can do other things. And then the other cool thing is the standard library. So I showed it just now, but this at standard namespace has a bunch of packages that do a lot of the common things that we typically want to do inside of our Node.js applications. But the standard library is maintained by Deno. So the idea is kind of like a unification of the JavaScript ecosystem. Like if you look at their blog post, they show a comparison of some of the things that are in the standard library versus like what you would be using if you just pulled something from npm. So yeah, like they have built-in testing. You don't need to pull in Jest or even like Vite or vtest anymore. You could just use their built-in testing library. They have a built-in expectations. They have a built-in CLI tool for building interactive CLIs. They have a built-in collections library. So obviously this is the classic XKCD about standards. So we situation, there are 14 competing standards. 14? Ridiculous. We need to develop one universal standard that covers everyone's use cases. Situation, there are now 15 competing standards. So obviously it's a situation where, okay, now this is just one more option. This is just one more way to do these various things. But I think because it's backed by Deno and because the the core maintainers of Deno are also maintaining the standard library here, I think it would make sense for people to try and start using these standard libraries instead. And that way we can get to a point where there aren't a bunch of options for all of these things. Everyone's kind of doing it the same way, and we can move faster. There'll be more innovation in the space. The space will move quicker, right? So if you come across a bug in one of these standard library functions, you can just submit a PR. It's completely open source. And then that helps out everybody else that is using the standard library as well, versus only contributing to some specific project or something like that may or may not have may or may not be maintained or may not have like an active maintainer. So this is another interesting thing about Deno as well. Let's write some code. You're right. Okay, are the ads over? They're over. Let's write some code. Okay, so this Python repo claims to be able to get YouTube transcripts without using any API key. Let's figure out how they do it. So we're going to do some source code diving. Now, I look at this, and my guess is maybe we'll look at transcripts.py. It's possible that like we could follow it from the top down. We could go into main, or init. That's kind of like their entry point, and like follow the function calls. But let's just look at transcripts.py and see what it does. So we have a transcript list fetcher. And then it has a function that extracts the captions into JSON. Fetch video HTML. And so internally, there's a function called fetch HTML. Okay. What I am understanding here, so this says get the watch URL and pass in a specific video ID. So given some video ID, they're gonna construct the full YouTube URL. So every YouTube URL is youtube.com/watch !v equals some ID. So this is what a YouTube URL looks like, and this little bit of code is creating that given some video ID. So in my codes, I have a bunch of video IDs, and I want to potentially construct a URL, but it looks like they're just making the request directly to that and then getting back the HTML from it. So it would be like, and I guess let's grab last week's video. So this is last week's video. This is its URL. And it would be like making the request and then getting back the HTML. So this is the actual HTML of the response. So that's what this little bit of code is doing. For short videos, the URL is a bit different. You can actually use this same format. I have an extension installed so that if I ever click on I don't know if it's enabled right now, but if I click on a short video, yeah, I think it's already redirecting me because I clicked on that. But if I have an extension installed where if I click on a short video, it actually redirects to the YouTube watch page. Yeah, check it out. So for any YouTube short, it still has a video ID, and the YouTube watch page URL will work for that as well. Yeah, because I don't like the shorts experience. Okay. So that gets the HTML for a specific page for a YouTube video. Great. So the extract captions JSON says, get me the HTML. From there, we're going to get a big old string and we're going to split it on captions : So my guess is inside of that response, there is some JSON data that actually has the captions. So just looking at the source code for this video, or for this request to get this video, if I search for captions, there it is. And there's some info in here. So the splitted HTML, we're using it and then splitting it again. So my guess is they're basically in the response from like in this HTML response, there's actually some embedded JSON data, and they're using a split to grab the specific piece of JSON data that has the information that we care about. And here it is. So you can see that it has a captions track and then a base URL. So let's actually just try requesting this base URL directly. Like this. AI could probably figure this out, but anybody watching, you should know how to do this too, because you can't always depend on AI. Now, here's the issue. There's a bunch of escaped characters in this URL. I want this to be a regular plain old URL, so I'm going to do decode URI component. So this is a built-in JavaScript function that, given some URL, will remove all of like the weird decoded stuff. And so yeah, now we get back like ampersands and stuff. And so if I go to this URL, look at that. We get back an XML response that has all of the transcripts. And so this is what we need, right? Because now that we have this XML, now we can parse it. Now we can go through and just like turn this into an SRT. So the flow that this Python script is basically doing is request the raw HTML for the page that has for the YouTube video page, then reach into that raw HTML and grab this specific section that is this object here, grab that URL, make the request to get this, and then parse this back. So we can do that, right? We can write a script that makes a fetch, gets the HTML, splits it out, pulls the URL out. That's what we need to do. So let's do it. I'm going to write a proof of concept script that only requests for one specific YouTube ID. So let's do just that. In my YouTube folder. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, they've blocked all the YouTube download tools. Yeah, that's one of the things is potentially I want to replicate the request to make it look like it's coming from a web browser. So I can include headers that say like this is coming from a Firefox web browser. And then the other thing is I don't want to just make a ton of requests. Like I'm going to write a script that downloads like one caption every 10 seconds, right? I don't want to overload YouTube servers, and that's actually a good way to get my IP address blocked from YouTube. So I'm not going to just pound their servers. I'm going to write code that would behave in the same way as a user. Like a user could click a video link once every 10 seconds. So that's probably how I'll write this. But we want a function. We're going to call it get transcript, get video transcript. And then it takes in a string, which is the video ID. Like this, okay. And then we need to create a URL. That is https://youtube.com/watch v equals, and then pass in the video ID. Okay, so there's that. Now, if we make a request here, it's going to give us back HTML, so I can use fetch to grab the response like this. And then the HTML is just going to be response.text. Okay. Honestly, this will probably work. We don't need to worry about cores because this is running on a server. Yeah. 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 I'm paranoid, so I'd add a random amount of time. Oh, yeah. We'll probably do that too. Yeah. Can we do this using automation like Cypress or Puppeteer? You could, but it would be a lot slower because Cypress and Puppeteer spin up an entire web browser. We don't need to do that because we don't need to run this page. The data that we need is inside of this page already. We don't need a web browser. Literally all we need is an HTTP request that's going to give us back the HTML. And for now, I'm just going to return the HTML. Okay. So we have this function. It gets the HTML from YouTube and then logs it out. Let's try running it. I have all of this codes here, but I don't want to run it right now. I just want to test that one specific script. I'm just going to do a deno.exit. So that way all of this code down here doesn't run, but this will run. That gets the one video transcript. So we're going to import that function. We're going to get back the HTML. And then we need to pass in a video ID. So I'm going to pass in this specific video ID. And then if everything worked okay, we should get some HTML that gets spit out. Let's see. Deno task start. We did it. we made a request to the YouTube API, and it gave us back a bunch of HTML. So this is step one. Now we need to actually extract out that data. But I want this request to appear like it's coming from a web browser. And again, I'm not going to just request 500 pages all at once. We're going to do it slowly, and I'm going to let this run in the background. But I want this request to appear like it's coming from a browser. So what I can do is if we just head to youtube.com, Deno is a JavaScript runtime, so it's like an alternative to node.js. So for instance, if I click on a video, I'm going to actually look at the network requests and then copy the request for when I click on another video. I'm hiding my screen just in case there's like any API keys or anything like that. But here's what I'm thinking. Here inside of Firefox, I'm on this video watch page, but if I click on another video, that should make a GET request to load that video, potentially, and then I want to copy the headers. So I'm going to click that, find the response, and then copy the headers that were sent. Yeah. Doesn't leak the secrets. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to hide this, but I'm going to show you what I'm going to do because this is built into Chrome. This is built into Firefox. For any request that's happening here, you can right click and say copy as. I'm just going to do copy as fetch. So copy as fetch by default. Wait, can you not see this? Oh yeah, it's off the screen. Right click, copy value, copy as fetch. By default, at least in Firefox, it does not copy all of your cookies and keys and everything else. It just copies most of the headers that got sent in the request. So if I do copy as fetch here, that's going to include like the header that says what my web browser is, the referrer, all of the things that a web browser sends along with the request. So I'm going to paste this in my codes. I'm going to remove anything secret if there was one. Yeah, there's a bunch of like ex-YouTube honestly, I don't think I want this specific request. Literally all I want is the request of loading the page itself. So if I clear out all of these and then just refresh, this very first request that's a GET request, that's what I want. This is the one that replicates just requesting the video directly, not being on the site and then requesting something else. So let's see what this gives me. Yeah, this is much cleaner and doesn't leak anything at all. But I'll show you what we get. So I did copy as fetch. I pasted it in my code here. You can see it's pretty basic, but one of the main things it has this user agent header. And so this is the user agent that describes the version of Firefox that I'm running. You can also see it has these other requests here. I think the other one that we would want to include to make this look like it's coming from a web browser is like the host header. And then, yeah. I mean, right now, this is just HTTP requests. This isn't even, I see, because you had to deal with their API. I'm not going to say mode as cores. We're going to get rid of that. And all of this has to do with how fetch makes the request, but there's no like embedded request here or embedded cookies or anything like that. So that looks good. I'm going to look in the network tab again because there are headers in the request that didn't actually get passed in when I said copy as fetch. Let me see. But again, I don't want to leak my stuff. So we can look at this request. Yeah, it's got my big old cookie inside of there. So I'm not going to show my screen, but if you click on headers, you can actually see all of the headers that were sent for that specific request. And you can see there's a cookie header that was included that didn't get copy pasted. I'm not going to include the cookie because this would be just like some user that's requesting the site. But there's also a host header. So the host says where this request is coming from. Oh, you're right. Yeah, that's a good. Let me demonstrate that. It is. I'll just literally do this from a private tab, and this is what we would expect to happen. So someone that's like not logged in. Okay, so I'm in a private tab. We're gonna go to this URL. We can look at the initial GET request that happened here, and then look at the request headers. You can see that this actually does have like it actually refreshed and like passed in a cookie here. But it's super basic. It's just like where the user is. And the main thing that I care about here, though, is the potentially we could pass in the refer, but then also the host. Like you want to say that this request is coming from youtube.com. So the host header is something that's set by web browsers. That can't be changed. Like if this code was running inside of a web browser, JavaScript code can't change the host header. It's like a security thing. But because this code is running on a backend, I can just tell it where I can specify what the host is, so it'll appear like this request is coming from youtube.com. Deno can use npm packages now, right? Yes. You can use a package called user agent that fake generates user agent, so it doesn't look like it's all coming from the same browser. Oh, I mean, that's a good, like all of these are like good, you can just lie. All of these are good scraping techniques. We're going to keep it super basic because, again, I'm not going to pound their servers. I'm going to keep it pretty random. Okay, this now gets the HTML, but it also sets the headers. It should work exactly the same as before, but it's just sending those headers along as well. And Jeanette Akar, thank you for the raid. Welcome in, raiders. Welcome, welcome. We're writing some code. What were you working on? Hello. Hello, yeah, thanks for that. Programming a web framework. Nice, nice. A closure framework. Nice. Well, welcome in, raiders. This is the Coding Garden. I am writing some code with TypeScript and Deno. So basically, I want to build a tool that allows people to search across the transcripts of every YouTube video I've ever done. And we're slowly getting there. Last stream, we got the video IDs for every video on my YouTube channel. So youtube.com/codinggarden. I've been live streaming like over like 5-6 years at this point. So we have a bunch of live streams and videos. And the script that we wrote last time called their API and got the ID for every single video. Now we're trying to get the transcripts. And we talked about how their API has a quota cost and also requires OAuth. So we found this Python library that is getting transcripts and it's not using their API. And we've kind of read the code and figured out what they're doing. And so we're at the point where if you pass in a video ID, we get the HTML for the page. And now we can pull the captions URL out of this HTML that we just got back. So yeah, that's where we're at. Let's keep coding. Welcome in, raiders. Good to see you. I just talked about what you missed. Super secret name. Rewind the YouTube stream like 2 minutes. Oh, I did this wrong. That's the URL. I just want to pass the URL in here. Yeah. Okay. And then I want to do this. Okay. So we're setting the headers. We're making the request. We get back the HTML. If we look at the Python script, it splits that. HTML that it got back on captions with a quote here. So let's do that. Okay. So it splits it on that. And then it grabs the value after it and then splits it again. What's funny is this is Python code, but I'm pretty sure we can just paste it in as JavaScript code. So split it on captions, grab the thing after the captions, and then split it on comma video details and grab the thing before it. So basically in this response, we're trying to pull out this specific JSON object right here. Is that it? We need to search for, I just want to show you. So we'll search for this section specifically. Yeah, we're just doing this for educational purposes. Okay, so basically the codes is going to get all this HTML. It's going to split it on this section. At index 0 is going to be everything to the left. Index 1 is going to be everything to the right. Okay, so everything to the right is going to be this, and then everything else on the page. But then after that, we're also searching for this section here, which is this right here. And so basically that's the end of the object. And so we have a big old string and we're just trying to extract out that one specific object from the string. And so this should be the captions text. And then if we parse that as JSON, we should get back a legit object that has the captions URL inside of it. Let's see what happens. Wow, it worked. So you can see inside of here, we pulled that out, we parsed it, now we have a legit JSON object. But what we actually need is this base URL right here. So we can now dial into the object. We can say, let's call this JSON. Why not parse the JSON before extracting the captions? Because it's not JSON, it's HTML. It's HTML. We're pulling out the JSON text from the HTML. Okay, so that gives us the JSON. The caption, what is it? Honestly, we can just use destructuring. We can say JSON dot playlist player captions track list render caption tracks, which is an array, index 0 dot base URL. And we can destructure base URL from this, like this. And so now, given a video ID, I have the URL to get the captions. Okay, now that we have the URL, we can make another fetch. So let's call this the captions response. We'll call fetch with that base URL. And then I actually want all of these headers to be reused. So I'm going to put this into a common object. Let's call this the request options, like that. And so I can pass these in here, and then I can pass these in here. But in the web browser, if it were to make a request there, the host, I guess the host would still be this domain, but it might actually have a refer field. So we could actually set the refer. It should be fine. It should be fine. What's up, Jefferson? Welcome in. Welcome in. I mean, what we could do is spread those request options. Really, we just need the headers. I just want the headers. It'll be easier to spread if we do this. But then we'd have to put it in here. So we say headers are the request headers. Okay. But what that allows me to do is then add an additional header in this request. So I can say grab all of the existing request headers, but I also want to add a referrer header. And the referrer is going to be the page that I was on, which is the YouTube video URL. I'm going to rename that to YouTube video URL, just to be explicit. And then we can set that there. Is this how you specify a referrer header? Is this it? Let me just double check. Referrer. Yeah, that's the way to go. Capital R, refer. Oh, I spelled it wrong. Cool. Only one R in the middle. Okay. So this is going to go out and get that XML data, which are the captions, and then we can try to parse it. So at this point, we'll say the XML is captionsresponse.text, and then we'll return that instead. Okay, moment of truth. Sweet. We've got back XML that represent the transcripts. Now we need to parse this thing. Now we need to turn this into a more usable format. And there's a few different things that we could do, but I think I want to turn it into like a standard format. So SRT is a captions format. Yeah. There's a lot of different caption formats. There's also VTT and like web VTT. Love XML, hate XML. I mean, this XML structure is pretty okay. I just want to tell you about all the possible caption formats. Subtitle formats, a comprehensive overview. Yeah, SRT is the one that I see the most. And it looks like this. So it's it's just a text file. It has all of the entries that are 0 index, and then it has timestamps. So it says, this is the start, this is the end, and then this is the text that was set at that specific timestamp. Yeah, I think we'll go with SRT because we can convert to other formats after that. Yeah, there are other formats that look like this. Then VTT could be good as well. So VTT, I think, looks very similar to, or web VTT looks very similar to SRT. But it can have like other information at the top. It can have style information, which is pretty cool. But yeah, we're going to go with SRT. We need to take in this XML and then reformat it as SRT. I'm going to see if there's anything on NPM for creating SRT files. So this parses the files. Dependency-free parser. Given a transcription, this package returns a valid string. No. I mean, I guess we could just write the formatter ourselves. I guess we'll do that because we can showcase using Deno and like file writing and stuff like that. Yeah. What does in X second? Oh, that means that my streaming computer clock is out of sync. That's what that means. Let me fix it. And then Well, I don't know how to fix it. It's fine. The chats are in the future. Okay. So yeah, let's look at the SRT format. And we'll just do this manually. So we'll read in the XML and then manually create text that looks like this. Now, how do we read in the XML? I'm thinking just DOM parsing, but we can search JSR to see if there's any XML packages. XML parser and stringifier with node dependencies. I mean, that's pretty cool. Based on the quick XML Rust package. Let's use this. All right, so we can install it with Deno. This is great. See how fast that installed? That was sick. Okay. Now we bring in parse. From, what is this library called? libs/XML. Okay. And then if we pass that into, well, no, other way around. Say parse with the XML. We have a variable called JSON. Let's rename this to captions JSON. And then this is, or no, this is the, it's not, this isn't the captions JSON. This is the captions meta JSON. It's like the metadata about the captions. And then this is the captions JSON. All right. That doesn't seem right. Oh, because I left this code up here. That's why. Not all right. The parser crashed. But why? If we look at this response, it has XML version. It has a transcript. Yeah, we could try that first, right, Hedgehog? Let's see if we pass in the source of what we got back from Google. Is this valid XML? It is. It says it's valid. Well, that's not nice. I mean, that's not very promising. Yeah, Deno can run WASM. It can. Oh, unreachable. What does this mean? This is probably XML is literally the worst to work with. It just never works for me. Well, my thought is to just go to a DOM parser. Like we could use JS DOM or something like that, because XML at the end of the day, like, can be parsed and traversed in the same way. Yeah, you have a great point, right? We don't, we're wasting our potential requests right now. You're completely right, Loco. Is there a DOM parser built into Deno? Yes, there is. That's all we need. Why didn't I know about this? I mean, there's a lot of things I don't know about. Using JSX and the DOM. Not found. That's unfortunate. um, is it on Deno? Well, it says the docs I saw earlier were just built in. Runtime manual. Are these web APIs? It's just, I just don't know where I am. This is like a docs site that it linked me to, but then it's not on the other docs site, and there's like a not found there. Let me just try instantiating a DOM parser. I'm on Deno land. Oh, I see. But no. DOM API? What am I looking at? This is very confusing. Deno DOM? Oh, I see the chat, but is this an official Deno package? Oh, it's not though. So that's why it's from Bfuse. Those docs I were looking at were super. These are super confusing because it looked like it was an official Deno package, but it's actually not. But yeah, is Deno DOM on JSR? It is. Let's use this. This should be fine. We can remove that one. Add this one. Pull in the DOM parser. Parse from string. Pass in the XML. Oh, that's why the other library broke. I didn't await this promise. Okay. Yeah, that was the issue. Oh, well, we already installed another library. We'll just use this one. But now that I have it, if I do a query selector for every single text. Oh, well. So from here, I can say doc.querySelectorAll, give me all of the text nodes. Now I should get an array of text nodes. Cool. There they are. And then for each one, I can go through and log the text content. Let's try. music, laughter. Yeah, cool. But yeah, thanks for all your suggestions. I hadn't planned a syntax stream, but maybe we'll do one Thursday. Just to keep an eye on Twitter. Keep an eye on Twitter. All right, that's all. I got to stick around for the raid. If you're watching on YouTube, head over to Twitch. You can join us on the raid. And yeah, wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful morning. After this is it. It's just the these are the transcripts. Okay, cool. We do see though that there are some HTML encodings like this. And I do realize I'm still calling the YouTube API every time. A better way to do this would be put that XML into a file and then start writing our code against that XML file. I want to decode these HTML entities. I do know there is an HTML package in the standard library, so we don't have to reach for like a random library. I believe there's standard HTML. And it has unescape. So I'm going to install this standard HTML library. And then we can pull in unescape. And then that should do it. Nice. So it like turned those weird HTML entities into like quotes and such. All right. Now, I think I will put an XML file for testing inside of here. Yeah, if I were doing this the right way, we would have a test directory and then like a fixtures, and then I could put this XML file in there, and then we could write tests against it. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to define a captions.xml file, and then delete it when I'm done testing. Okay, so like, it doesn't remove the time info because those are attributes. So I should be able to do element.getAttribute start and end or whatever the attribute names are. But here we can say XML is Deno.read text file. And then we're going to grab captions.xml. Okay, so now it should just read from that file and do the same thing. Sweet. Sweet, 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 sweet. But looking at this, it has a start and a dir, and we should be able to use DOM methods like getAttribute. So start is element.getAttribute start. Duration is element.getAttribute dir. And then text is unescape element.textContent. Now we can create a little JSON object that has start, duration, and text. Look at that. Beautiful. We want to parse these durations as numbers. So we'll do that. All right. And now we want to turn this into the SRT format. So for each one, we have the index. Starts off as 0. And we're just going to build up a big old string that is the SRT file. So we'll call this the SRT text. It starts off as the empty string. And then for each one of these, we're going to concatenate onto it these, which will have the current index on the first line. Afterwards, we'll increment the index, start at 1. I saw some examples that started at 0. Does it start at 1? Oh, we'll start at 1. Okay. So that has that. We'll need to turn these seconds into timestamps. We'll do that next. But for now, let's just see if we can get this format right here. For each gives you the index. Yeah, you're right. But then it would be 0 based. But yeah, you're right. We should just use that. We should just use the built-in index. Then I don't have to have a separate variable. index plus 1 because it's 0 based. Then we want this, which means we'll have the start and then the start plus duration right here. And then the text. And then a new line. That's it. And so then after all that, we'll log the SRT text. Wow. I do not like this extra space here. What's happening there? Oh, I think I should do just like a new line. Oh no, if I put it over there, then the next line will have it on at the beginning. Yeah, like that. Okay. Some players might work with 0 base, but I guess it doesn't matter since you're not planning on playing those files. But I might. I guess I could have like a custom embed that adds those captions. All right, we are on our way, everybody. This is our SRT file. We can also write it to a file using Deno, which is super easy. We'll do the writing in the other file. Yeah, we're gonna have to. Formatting the timestamp is the next piece. But over here, we could get the video transcript, and then this gives us back the SRT text, and then we could do a deno.write file, write text file. This is one of the things I like about the Deno way of working with the file system. Like in Node, if you're using the FS module, you always have to specify like UTF-8, but read text file, write text file automatically sets the encoding, so it's nice. It's nice. Captions.srt and pass in the SRT text like that. Cool. So when I run this now, my program needs file system write access. So this is the security model of Deno. I just wrote some code that tries to write to the file system, and I didn't give it permission to do that. So I just need to add the allow write to my start script. And then it writes the file. And so now in this folder, obviously I'm going to clean this up when I'm getting all of the captions, but in this folder, I now have a captions file. So hello friends, welcome to Coding Garden. In today's live stream, we're going to be building with Deno v2. So we had an idea here on the Coding Garden a long time ago, and honestly, this idea has come up over and over again where we want to be able to search across all the videos that I've done with using the subtitles. So if you look at the Coding Garden YouTube channel, cool. Cool. All right, now we need to convert these seconds into timestamps. Let's see if there's anything on JSR or timestamp conversion. Convert seconds or date objects into human-readable relative time strings. Can Deno handle flags for command line tools? There's a standard library called standard CLI, and it has a built-in way of doing command line flags like this. So you can parse the arguments, and then it gives you back an object like that. So it's not built into Deno, but it is in the standard library. Let's see what this one does. I want time on Deno land. Yeah, I don't want a go. I want this. So hours, minutes, seconds, milliseconds. The thing is, I've written a function to do this many times before. And I think even recently on the Coding Garden, I did something like that. We can search Deno land. Let's look at their time module. Module for location-based time zone provisioning. Time.ts, a straightforward Deno time zone manipulation. We do timestamp parsing in listed? Can anyone, I feel like I did this recently. Can anybody remember what stream I did it on recently? Oh, was it just I think it was just a Code Wars problem, wasn't it? Yeah, I think it was a Code Wars problem. Oh no, I think it's also I think I did in the syntax code base. All right, can I see my recently completed katas? Human readable duration format. I mean, we also could just ask AI to code it. I don't know why I'm going through all this trouble to but here it is. Look at that. Let's just copy paste my codes. Easy. So given seconds, which is a number, we get the seconds, minutes, hours, days, and years. We don't actually need the days and the years. And then we don't want to mod this by 24 because we want the full number of hours. Oh, Luxon has a duration function? Luxon's pretty cool. Okay, let's look at Luxon. Most people would have just asked ChatGPT to do this. Okay, so format ISO with the duration. That's pretty cool. We should probably use a library for this. We'll use a library. And we can show using Luxon from NPM inside of Deno. Is it just Luxon on NPM? Yes, it is. Okay, so we can do Deno. Can the temporal API do this? I don't know if it can. If it can, I would be really impressed. So I want Luxon, like that. We can pull in duration from Luxon. Here's the code isn't that hard, right? This is the code. This is the code to do it. I don't know. We'll pull the library in because maybe we'll need other formatting things in the future, or time formatting things in the future. Day.js has humanize. We don't want humanize. We're trying to format a duration as a specific thing. Yeah, I write Vue.js. I do. I'm actually going to be on the Deja Vu podcast. I think like next week. We recorded it this week. Duration from ISO? I think we want from seconds. I haven't done much Nuxt. No, only a little bit. Duration dot. Do we not have type completion? I don't think we have type completion here. That's unfortunate. I'm going to go back to just using my function because I want to move on. Did I lose my function? Yeah, reload window didn't do it. For whatever reason, Deno isn't able to pull those pull those types in. Do I need at types? I don't want to install types separately. We're going to uninstall that package. And we're just going to use my function, which should work just fine. It's super simple. It just takes some seconds, convert it into hours, minutes, seconds. I guess we want milliseconds too. Okay. How would I find the milliseconds here? Do I do total seconds times 1,000? Oh, you were totally right. It's fine. I'm losing steam here. You're completely right. Well, no, after you install it, you don't need to prefix it with npm because it gets added to your deno.json in the imports field. So once you do deno add, it would have put Luxon here with npm on the right-hand side, but then Luxon on the left-hand side. Total seconds will always be 0. I don't think it won't because we're using decimals. I think I can just say milliseconds is total seconds times 1,000 mod 1,000 times 1,000 mod. No, if it comes as a decimal, how do I convert the decimal to total? I just want the decimal piece, and I want that to be multiplied by 1,000. I can do mod 10 or mod 1. Mod 1 gives me the remainder. Thank you, Ricky. that's the way to go. So get the remainder of the division by 1, which will give us the decimal. Multiply that by 1,000, which gives us the total milliseconds. That's the way to go. You could also do math.floor and subtract it, but the remainder of the division of 1 should do it. Okay. Total seconds is a number. What do we want to call this function? I guess technically it doesn't have to return an object. It could just return the format because the format that we want is this. Yeah, we'll just do this inside of here. And then we need a little padding function. So this will take in the value, which is a number. And then we'll say number toString, pad start. I want to pad up to 2, fill it with zeros. And then we want, I guess I could actually do this. Here we can say pad the hours, pad the minutes, pad the seconds, and then put the milliseconds on the end. Like so. All right. This is it. You're right. It's not, we're not formatting a duration. We are, value is never used. Ah, good call. Thank you, linter. What do we call this? Seconds to string? I guess we are formatting a duration. It's start and stop time. I don't know. This should do it though. So now, build timestamp. Awesome. It's broken because we need to math.floor to get the seconds there, to drop that decimal. Timestamper. So we will math.floor to drop the decimal for the rest. Seconds to timestamp. Love it. I could have used the rename function, but I didn't. All right. That didn't do it. I thought I was math.flooring it. Total seconds mod 60. Oh no, this needs to be, I need to math.floor this. Like that. And then everywhere else it's used, we'll drop the decimal. That's what I want to see. Okay, so from 599 milliseconds to 5 seconds. Hello, friends. Welcome to Coding Garden. Cool. I'm curious for milliseconds. How long should those be? Yeah, there should be no decimal for milliseconds. So we math.floor that operation as well. Yeah. Well, we want milliseconds because that makes the timestamp a little more accurate. Yeah. It's beautiful. I don't need to pad these with zeros, do I? We've done it. We've converted that XML into an SRT format with Deno v2. Look at us. Do I want the comma or a period before the milliseconds? I believe the SRT format is a comma. Yeah, like this. Now check if it's valid. I mean, how do we do that? Thank you, Wizman. You would pass a test interview at my company. Nice. SRT caption file validator. Here we go. Let's see if we're valid on this website. Validate caption. Parsing error. Invalid timestamp on line 6. How is this an invalid timestamp? Hours, minutes, seconds, milliseconds. You do need 3 integers for milliseconds? Okay, yeah, so we have to pad that as well. Gotcha. So we pad on the end. Gotcha. Okay. I mean, this is padding at the start. We need pad at the end. Do I create another function? I'm just going to do it in line. Yeah, so pad end with up to 3 zeros. Nice. Look at us. We're just plain old video experts. Start time should be less than the previous end time on line 6. Dang it. Oh, how weird. Okay. Yeah, why is this happening? This one goes from 3 seconds to 9 seconds, and then the next one is 5 seconds to 10 seconds. Oh, are they looking at this? So from 0 to 4, 3 to 5, 5 to 5, 9 to 3. Thank you, Curious Yeti. Thank you for the tip. You're way too kind. I'm using it as, so I'm saying start plus duration to create the end timestamp. That's duration, not the next timestamp. I'm checking the duration. Oh. No. Okay, so the SRT format has a full timestamp, not the duration. But what I'm doing is I'm taking the start time, increasing it by duration, and then converting that to a timestamp. Are these aren't overlapping, are they? Oh, is that the issue? These actually are overlapping? Man. So from 0 to 4, from 3 to 8. Yeah, and then from 5. Oh, man. What do we do? What do we do? If they're overlapping, combine them. Dang. This is harder than we thought. I think if they're overlapping, we combine them into a single thing. Yeah. Well, my friends, we have more code to write. No, because the whole thing will overlap. No, it won't. So like if let's look at our captions example here. So from here to here to here to here. Oh, you're right. Wait, what? They all overlap. Yeah, like if we tried to say, okay, these two overlap, so keep going until they don't overlap. They did this on purpose. They did this on purpose so that I can't write this code. Duration value is coming from the YouTube captions object here. Okay, well, here's what we could do, though. Go back to source code diving. We could go back and see how do they convert them in this Python code, because this is where we got the idea to pull it from that HTML. So that handles it here. We should see how do they parse it? How do they figure out overlapping timestamps? Yeah, the issue with using the next start as the end is they will all just overlap, right? So if I go from here to here, well, I don't know. I don't think it's time traveling. I think when you see it on YouTube, it's showing multiple at a time. So from here to here, and then from here to here, and then from here to here. Will those still work though? All right, that might be the way to go. So like the end time is just the start of the next one. But that could break it. That could actually just be completely wrong. That's what we're worried about. Like Eddie is saying, is we want it to be in sync. Oh, but okay, check this out. I'm noticing something. This goes to here, which is this. And then this is here. And then this is here. Okay. There's a puzzle to figure out here in how they're doing this. Like, if we combine two at a time, yeah, combine two, the start time is the end time of the last one. But would this also work if we said this goes from here to here, and then oh no, this one goes from here to here. Yeah, we could just use the end of the previous one. But I guess we're worried is if they don't overlap. What do we do? Okay, first step, which is going to be the end, which is going to be the easiest, is each end time is the next one's start time. Let's just do that and then load it up onto a video and see if it's in sync. If it's in sync, that's the way to go. Also, we could try to read this Python code and see how they do it. It's more fun if we do it ourselves. Okay. So we're not actually going to be using the duration property at all. We're just going to be using the next one, the next timestamp's end. If you just use the end time, it won't account for silence. Yeah, okay, that does make me believe it's better to combine two rather than just set the end time. Yeah, we should combine two. Go two at a time. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to, instead of doing it all in one go with the for each, we're going to build up an array, and then after that, process it. I think combining two at a time is the way to go. It's got to be. That's what Eddie is saying. Eddie does this for a living. And honestly, I'm gonna look at their source code to see how they do it, because they're probably combining two at a time. All right, they have a formatters file, pretty print formatter, JSON formatter, text formatter. A basic implementation of WebVTT SRT. Well, we do not by lines, but for a number of characters, but that's because of television transmission standards. SVB to SRT? SVP, what is SVB? YouTube's, oh! Did not know that this was a standard. I thought this was just some XML file. Apparently, this is an SBV format. Oh, good find. All right, let's throw the XML in there and see what they do. What's up, Juan? Welcome in. Good to see you. Yeah, I guess I'm also worried about the gap between timestamps. All right. Subtitle converted. All right. How did they do it? They only, that's one way to do it, is just don't do it at all. Okay. SBV format to SRT. What is the conversion algorithm here? SBV caption format. Okay, I'm going to dig into this Python code. I'm going to see what they do. Okay, enumerate the transcript. They get the start time, which is going to be the one on the left. Yeah, we're here in Higgins line 130, and then the one on the right. Yeah, they're grabbing. Look at that. They're grabbing the timestamp of the next one's start. And if we're at the end, just use that. Okay, so the way that they do it is let me show you. The way they do it is for each one, the end time is the start time of the next one. So they say this, the end time is that. And then for this one, the end time is that. And then for this, the end time is that. And then for this, the end time is that. This is what they're doing. What I'm worried about is if there is a gap between them, this subtitle will display when there is silence, right? I think if we use the direct YouTube API, we could get it back as SRT, yeah. Is it not checking the last end time? Let's see. Oh yeah, America 2050, but I don't want to download that 500 times manually. What is this if statement here doing? If the index is less than length minus 1, so if it if we're not at the end, if we're in any other timestamp, and the next transcript's start is less than the end time, oh, this is just like an inverted if statement. So weird to read. If this evaluates to true, use the next one's start timestamp. If this one evaluates to false, use the current end timestamp. That is how we're going to account for if there is some long pause between the two. Okay, this is what we need to do. This is the answer. Classic Python syntax. It's like an inverted if statement. I can just paste Python code in and it'll work, right? Okay. First of all, I'm going to build up an array. So we're going to call this the captions. It's an array like this. And then each thing is going to have a start, which is a number, a duration, which is a number, and a text, which is a string. Okay. So instead of doing this, we're just going to say captions.push an object with start, duration, and text. And I got the type wrong. This is a array of objects that look like that. Okay, so TypeScript is happy. Wonderful. Now that I've parsed them all, we can look forward without having to parse the next one twice. So now I could do a similar thing here where we start off with the text is empty, and then for each caption, we can also grab the index. We'll tap. Oh, that gets tabbed in. All of this needs to be at the beginning of the line, like that. We can grab start, duration, and text from the current one. We can then say the end is start plus duration. Right now, I'm not using Prettier because I'm using Deno, and Deno has a built-in formatter. So I, in my settings, have the default formatter set as Deno and format on save set to true. So that's why, like, when I save, it adds semicolons and stuff like that. Deno is handling it. Okay, that is our end time. I pasted this Python code in here. We're basically converting this into TypeScript. All right, we've got the end time. The start is always going to be the start, but the end will vary. So we're going to grab the end timestamp. If the current index, we'll have to convert this to. We're just going to do a ternary, right? So if this evaluates to true, then we're going to grab the next one's start. So if I is less than captions dot length -1, and also we'll use index, which is coming from this for each. So if the index is less than captions dot length -1, and the next transcript's start is less than the end, then we use the next transcript's start. Otherwise, we just use the end. Easy. Easy as pie. And next is captions at index +1. Let's call this the next caption. And I don't even need to put this in a variable. I'm just going to put this right here. Start plus duration. Well, I guess that's why I put it in a variable. Okay. What do we call this? Caption end? You know, we could just put it in this object. Like that. Then we don't have to calculate it again. Like that. Yeah, this makes it much easier and easier to read. Because then we can say end right here. And I guess we'll call this the end seconds. And then we'll call seconds to timestamp on it. All right, done. First try. All right. Now, this looks good, right? This goes from 0 to 3. This goes from 3 to 5, 5 to 9, 9 to 10. Cool. So, I mean, on the surface, it looks good. Basically, what would happen is if there's a certain amount of time where I'm not talking, that would be the part where the end is actually less than the start of the next one, then there will be a gap. Yeah, now we need to test it. Now we need to make sure that this is the case. But here's what we'll do. We'll grab this. We'll throw it into that validator that we were using. And now it's not valid. Okay. On line 2442, start time should be less than the previous end time. How did index +1 not throw an error? It would just get undefined. So at the very end, next caption would be undefined, but we're doing a check here. So if we're at the end, we just use the end one. But if we're not, then next caption will have a value. That's why it didn't throw an error. You might be right, Finnick. Like, what if we could just store it as JSON? And then do whatever we want with it. Huh. The thing is, once we have it in SRT format, we could use a converter to convert it to a bunch of different formats. Yeah. Okay. Line 2442. Is wrong. Okay. 23, 23, 359, 23, 26, 759, 23, 26, 759. You're wrong. You're wrong. Start time should be less than the previous end time. Oh. Previous end time. Oh, dang. The milliseconds are off. Is it not taking into account milliseconds? That's the issue. We're not doing any parsing here. We're just putting it into a number. No, the validator is right. The validator is right. But for some reason, that decimal isn't being taken into account. So this will be 1402. No, so 1400.2 plus 2.839 Well, the thing is, we're not using the pad until afterwards. Right now, it's start and end are purely in seconds. They haven't been rounded yet. Yeah, so like up until this point, we haven't done any round. The rounding happens here when we convert it to a timestamp. So end is start plus duration. And then we're checking. You think it should be 038 instead of 3? Oh, is that our issue? Did we pad it in the wrong direction? We did pad it in the wrong direction. It is a pad start. Right? Huh. Because 38 milliseconds is different than 380 milliseconds. Man, I blame this on Eddie. Eddie didn't catch it. This is Eddie's fault. I had my doubts. Yeah, but okay. But the issue is we need to pad it with 3, not just 2. So, the amount. I'm just listening. Yeah, I don't. I'm not really blaming you, Eddie. Amount is going to default to 2, but you can pass in a custom amount, like 3. All right. This is the last first try, and everything is valid now. And we're done for today. Beautiful. No errors in your caption file. Now, I guess one test is we want to run this caption file with the video to see if it is correct. So let's just do that, and then we'll call it a stream, because at this point, now that I have this codes, it's up to me to go through each YouTube ID, download the captions into a folder. And I think I'll do that off stream, because I'm going to leave it running. I'm going to do it like 1 caption per minute or something like that. Eddie says, I bet it would be after sync after some time. I'm hoping not, but it's possible. So let's download this video and then combine them together. I'm going to go. Are these the right captions? Okay. I'm going to download the video. Give me just a second. Downloads are pretty slow. This is going to take forever. All right, I'm going to kill it. Download the video with an online service just to test the captions. If you use the official download function, it takes a long time. Let's see if another, like a different YouTube site works faster. Give me a second. Hey, what's up, Ashuden? We're writing some code. Run SRT files with VLC and start it at the same time as playing a YouTube video? I mean, that could work. I guess I could also test this on a much shorter video. Or check this out. Wait, can you use SRT inside of an HTML5 video player? Is that possible? Depends on the video player. All right, I'm going to try it. Oh, okay. I have an idea then. Give me a second. Video. Is there a way to add? Yeah, I can add a subtitle file to a video that's playing. Okay, I've got this, everyone. It's gonna work. Okay. Garden YouTube channel. Deno, yeah, we're using Deno v2. I have 468 videos. What's up, Nate Coates? Thank you for the raid. Welcome in. We literally just started. So welcome in, raiders. Good to see you all. Welcome. And thank you, Nate Coates. I appreciate that. Seems to be working. But yeah, so today we're going to be working with Deno v2. And I basically want to first get all of the... Okay. No way! What's up? Whoa! Welcome in, raiders. Thank you, Prime. I appreciate that. That's awesome. Welcome in. We're figuring some stuff out. Hello. Nice to see you all. What were you working on, Primogen? Thank you for the raid. If you're new here, this is the Coding Garden. We do a whole lot of web dev mainly. Today we're working with Deno, writing some TypeScript code. Nice, Dash. Well, thank you. Yeah, definitely check out the Primogen if you have not. And let's see what they were working on. Hack and Stash, Linux in Russia, character AI. Fascinating. Misai says, thank you for your Coolify videos. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah. Welcome in, raiders. All right, let me tell you what we're working on. We're actually, we were just yapping fine. That's awesome. But we're pretty close to our end goal, but here's the big picture and what we've been working on since last stream. Okay, is everybody ready? Type 1 in chat if you want to know what we were doing here on the Coding Garden. So we're writing with Deno, we're writing with TypeScript, and today we were actually like we converted some Python code. We found this random Python library and we're like, we want to do that, but in TypeScript. Okay, everybody's ready. So I have done a lot of live streams, lots and lots of live streams. If you look at my YouTube channel, I have 469 videos. And then if you look at the Coding Garden archive, that has another 149 videos. So I've done a lot of live streams. I have a lot of content. And there's just so much stuff hidden in all these live streams. I want people basically to be able to plain text search across every video I've ever done. Yeah, literally thousands of hours, literally. And so, yeah, I want people to be able to type in like Vue versus React, and then you can instantly get a clip to every time I ever talked about Vue versus React, or that kind of thing. So the goal here is I want to get the transcripts of every single video I've ever done so we can do stuff like that. So last stream, we wrote the code to get all of the video IDs. We talked to the YouTube API. And we wrote some Deno code that, given my channel ID, went out and found all the video IDs for both of those YouTube channels. And then today we were working on getting the transcripts. But yeah, exactly, Death Fudge. The end goal, there's a lot of stuff we can do. So once we have all of the transcripts, like on a machine somewhere, so many possibilities. First of all, you could just do plain old text search, right? You could use some like document indexing and file indexing services or just like open source things to make it so that you could literally just plain text search across all of the transcripts. And thank you, Bogdanovich. Thank you very much for that resub. But you could also feed them all into an LLM. So if you created vector embeddings for every single transcript, and then you could have an LLM where you could tokenize it. Then you can have an LLM where you could literally ask questions about stuff that I've done before. Or you could create a chatbot. Or people were saying this earlier. You could make a bot that answers questions in the style of me. So you could say like, teach me about JavaScript arrays, and then it'll use my teaching style and spit it out like that. So that's the end goal. I will say the coding train collaborated with Google to do something very similar a while back. Is it the coding train? Yes. Awesome YouTube channel. If you haven't heard of it, he does a lot of like machine learning and stuff like that. But he actually collaborated with like Google Labs, and they did this. They built a Schiffman bot. So Daniel Schiffman is his name. They built a Schiff bot. And it was trained on all of his videos. It was pretty interesting. Like he showed a demo of it, and you could ask it something, and it would answer, and it'd be like, check out this video where I talked about this. So yeah, they've done it before, but we're going to try to recreate that, but it's a lengthy process. So like I said, last video we downloaded all of the IDs from YouTube, the YouTube API, and put that into a cache. Yeah. Why are my links green on YouTube? Oh, I do a lot of interesting stuff here on the Coding Garden. I have a whole repo that talks about my like MacBook setup and how I set up Firefox, but I have an extension in Firefox called YouTube Enhancer is what it's called. It was broken in Firefox for a while, Enhancer for YouTube is the one. I guess it works in Chrome too. This one, but they have a bunch of built-in themes. So they have like dark theme and like a purple theme. And so I use the green theme from Enhancer for YouTube. But yeah, if you go to Coding Garden /Mac setup, that wasn't it. GitHub.com/Coding Garden /Mac setup. Talks about my Mac setup. And then I have a whole section on Firefox and like all of my extensions. You can check that out there. There. And we also have the Coding Garden frequently asked questions. So coding.garden /FAQ. Wait, no, that's not it. No, that's not it. FAQs. There we go. Bunch of stuff. I think do I talk about Firefox in here? I don't know. I have a bunch of questions answered in there as well, so you can check that out. All right, let's get back to writing some code. So, like I said, we got all the video IDs. Those are stored in the cache on my machine. Today, we're trying to get the transcripts. And the YouTube API has an endpoint for captions, but it requires a lot of API quota and you have to use OAuth to call these specific endpoints. So we didn't want to do that. I found this Python library called YouTube Transcript API that is able to get the transcripts without using API keys. And so we were like, how does it do that? So we read their source code and we figured out that they literally just request the HTML of a YouTube page, and then inside of the source, there is a JSON object that has a captions URL that returns XML data like this. So we wrote the code to handle that. Basically, not that, this. This code requests the video page as HTML. We then extract out that JSON object. That gives us back a URL to get the captions. We then make a request to get the captions, which gets us back XML data, and then we parse that XML data to turn it into an actual transcript file. And so all that code is commented out right now, so I'm not constantly hitting the API. Basically, for my local testing, I just have this captions file right here. Yeah, and the thing is, like, technically their API supports it, but it's just, again, it requires OAuth and takes a bunch of quota to do it. So with our local testing, we're just testing against this file, but we already wrote the code that can request this given any video ID. And we ran into an issue. Actually, I'll let me break the code. I think we could just do that. Yeah, so we basically just used the information inside of that XML. So like it has start time and duration, and we just use that directly. And we're like, all right, we can generate an SRT file, which is a file format for captions, using that data right there in the XML. But what we didn't realize is that YouTube displays like 2 lines of text at a time. So if you look at this generated file, like with no processing, this timestamp goes from here to here. This timestamp starts in the middle of that timestamp. And then this timestamp starts in the middle of that timestamp. And this format here, SRT, I mean, there's a lot of people here. I gotta be excited. I am kind of overstimulated. I don't know. We're figuring it out. But this file format, SRT, is like a standard file for storing captions. And they don't like that. They don't like that. So we had to fix it. We went through a bunch of iterations of figuring out, okay, how are we going to fix this? Ultimately, looking at the Python code, they grab the start timestamp of the next caption and make that the end timestamp. So basically, this goes from here to here, and then this one goes from here to here. And there's a little bit of logic, like if the next one, if the end timestamp is less than the start of the next one, then you actually don't grab the next one. So that's what we just got there. We just figured that out. And so with that little bit of code, no, where are we? Yeah, well, end seconds goes there. With that bit of code, now the SRT format is completely valid. I like how excited you are. Well, thank you. I got to keep it entertaining. So we're generating this file based on getting that XML file, and then we used this validator, and it says our captions are valid. Thank you, Eddie. Thank you very much for that gift. I appreciate you. So we made it. What we were going to do now is validate that, yes, this is right. Because we thought, okay, we're shifting the timestamps, but is it possible that using these calculations, maybe later on in the video, they're out of sync or something like that? So what I did, just to test this, is I've got an HTML file that's reading the video directly from Google. And then I want to specify, well, actually, I didn't do this. I just opened it with VLC. But we could have done this and then passed in the caption file that I generated. But that's what we're looking at here. This is the generated caption file that I made. Video IDs of every video that Coding Garden has ever done. So we have 460. And this is last live stream. And right at the beginning of the video, everything seems like it's in sync. I'm just going to look at the end of the video. I'm just going to kind of make sure, like, if we're at the end of the video, are the timestamps still in sync? And if they are, I'll write the code to start downloading the captions for every single video. But let's see. Is this muted? Basically, we're going to grab all these video IDs. Okay. Sure. Order by date. Resources are sorted in reverse chronological order based on the date that they were created. So that's what I want. There's no drift, at least. Yeah, the main thing that we would be worried about is if this restructuring of start and end was wrong in some way, then by the end of the video, it wouldn't. But yeah, it looks good. I think the fact that we're 2 hours into a video and the timestamps are in the transcript. Validate my environment variables. So I have a plain old Zod validator. You've seen this in most Node.js code bases that use Zod, but I'm able to pull that in because I just did a Deno install npm :Zod. Stuff buried in those live streams. So what I want to do, ship it. That's it. it's good. You should just download and store the XML files so you can revise your SRT converting code later. That's actually a great idea, Fen. Like, you're completely right, because we're taking the format in its original source form, converting it. We could be doing something wrong. So I probably want to save the XML file and the SRT file, but we know that the XML file is the source of truth. Yeah. We're not doing any conversion ourselves. So YouTube has automatic captions, and we're basically downloading the automatic captions. Yeah, +1 Fen. That's a great idea. Okay, let's get that going. Now I have the code that I know works. It can download the XML. It can convert it to SRT. Now we just do it for everything. But before that, I want to make sure that it will store these in a decent way. I guess we could think about that for a second. Where do we want to store these files? Like, do we want to create a folder for every video ID and then put the XML and the SRT file inside of there? Or do we just want to store everything at the root? Put it on a flash drive? Well, thank you, Adam. What's up? How do we deal with most heard words? That would be in the future. So in the future, after we have all of this stuff, we probably could create some sort of dictionary of whenever I say Deno, it spells it wrong or something like that. Video ID, folders by video ID. I think I like that. It's probably the way to go. But the other thing is, if we have one folder with everything in it, it is a flatter file structure. It would be a bit easier to read. Are the ads happening? Are we in an ad break? Sorry for the ad break. We'll pause during the ad break. I definitely don't want just the video title. Because we want to be able to potentially get more metadata about the video later on. So having the video ID would be good. Yeah. Video ID in the file. I think video ID in the file name. So video ID dot captions.xml or video ID dot captions.srt. What's the easiest environment to host on? I'm a C++ engineer interested in web stuff. It's hard to say. You can just easily deploy serverless functions to Vercel and Netlify. A lot of web developers are using that. Yeah, fly.io is really good. They spin up little servers for you. I did a recent video over on the Syntax channel. So if you're interested in podcasts and you haven't heard of the Syntax podcast, definitely check out the Syntax podcast, hosted by Wes Boss, Scott Tolinsky. I'm on there every now and then, but my role at Syntax is to make YouTube videos that dive deeper into the topics they cover on the podcast. But I recently did a video showing how to deploy a Hono API to render fly.io, Vercel, and Cloudflare workers. So those are some options. There's also what's that other one that has one-click databases? It's not. I don't know why I always forget the name. But if you want to check out this video, it shows how specifically Railway is the one. I don't know why I always forget their name. Railway is another option. If you check out that video, it's got a bunch of options. You can even just there's timestamps on the video. So if you just want to, if you just want to see the deployment process for each of those, you can skip ahead to this section here. Because honestly, render.com, super easy. You literally can point it at a repo. It'll automatically build it, convert it into a Docker container, but they have some limitations on their free tier. I've heard that people hosting stuff on render on the free tier, it sleeps forever and takes forever to spin back up. And this was my first time using fly.io. I was super surprised how easy it was to deploy to fly.io. And then Cloudflare, if your code doesn't do anything node specific and it can run inside of Cloudflare workers seems like the way to go as well. Yeah. Your bot's on render? I think as long as the server stays up, you're probably fine. Yeah. All right. Are the ads still happening? Are the ads over? Ads are over. Let's write some code. Okay. Yeah, the other thing is spin it up on a VPS. So AWS Lightsail has VPSs that are $3.50 a month. Okay. When we download a thing, I want to write it to a folder. I think I'm going to create a directory called data. Yeah, we're going to call it data. Inside of there, I'm going to create a folder called captions. And then for each caption that I download, I'm going to create two files inside of there, the XML file and the SRT file. That's the way to go. Download a thing. Get video transcript. Okay, so when we're getting the transcript for a specific video, right here is the point where we would have gotten the XML. So right here is where we would want to write it to the file system. So we're using Deno. If you haven't heard of Deno, it's an alternative runtime for node.js. Basically, the creator of Node had some new ideas about stuff that could be done better inside of, done better than Node did it. And so Deno is that. If you check out their blog, they talk about what's new in Deno version 2. So that's what we're using inside of this project, which means we can use Deno to write to the file system. So Deno has a built-in write text file function. Super easy. And then we can just pass in the path. So I want to go to data/captions, and then videoid.xml. I want to do some, and then pass in the XML data right there. Was it hard for me to start using Deno? I considered it, but afraid to spend a lot of time figuring things out. Right now, it's kind of spending a lot of time figuring things out, but it definitely is early days as an adopter. I think the big thing for Deno v2 is they support NPM modules. So even in this project, if you look in our deno.json, we're using Zod from NPM. And then we're using these other packages from JSR. So the fact that we can there's interop, we can use this, and if you really wanted to, you could actually import FS from Node. They have a full compatibility layer. Anytime you import from there, you just prefix it with Node, and then you can use the stuff that you already know if you're familiar with it, like fs.promises.read file. You could really do that if you wanted to. Thank you, Mansqueech. We'll see you later. So that's the nice thing about Deno too, is this interop. So it's you could, and that's the thing, please don't do this, because if you're using Deno, you might as well use the built-in way, Deno way of doing this. But what's nice about this is it's a slower on-ramp to Deno, right? If you want to start using Deno in one of your existing code bases, you don't have to go in and replace all of the FS and path and everything that's node specific. It'll still work with Deno. Yeah. So that's one thing. And then learning about the Deno specific things instead, that's going to be a learning curve as well. So for example, in the past week, every side project I've spun up, I've been using Deno for it just to see, right? I'm just testing it out. What are we really at the point where everything can be Deno? And I was working on a problem where I needed to read in or stream in a gzipped file line by line. And the only example of doing that I could find online was with Node using their built-in zlib module, which is built into Node. And I was like, okay, I could spend the time figuring out what's the equivalent inside of Deno, or I could just copy paste this example from the Stack Overflow question and just do it that way. So like that's the learning curve, right? Is like all of these examples out there on the web and stuff like that are written for Node. They're not written for Deno, so you have to convert it or figure it out. But I don't know. Okay. How much of a learning curve? I would say the main learning curve is learning these built-in Deno APIs, like deno.write text file. And then there are also web APIs that you may not be familiar with, because Deno is built on top of web APIs. Yeah. Okay. We're doing a path operation here. Is there a... Oh, you know what? If we want to do path things, I believe those are the standard library. And so this is the other thing that Deno brings us is the standard library. So all of the common things that you typically want to do that they don't necessarily want to be built into Deno itself is implemented in the standard library. But what's cool about the standard library is it's a lot of it is cross runtime. So you could even use this in Bun or in Node or whatever else. Does this have a path join function? Because that's what I need. Yeah, path.join. So like in Node, you would just import path, which is a built-in module, and do path.join. In Deno, they've pushed that out to the standard library. So I'm going to run this command that installs standard path. Yeah. And then we should be able to just import path.join. Yeah. And so, well, why did that? I have all these auto imports that got randomly imported, but the reason you would want to use this join method is so that it's cross-platform, because if I did this and then somebody tried to run this code on Windows, Windows uses the other kind of slashes. I don't know if it'd be able to figure it out. So what I need to actually do is say join the data directory, the captions directory, and then the name of the file. It will work? Okay, there are certain things you might do like with forward slashes and backslashes that may not be cross-platform, and this just makes sure that it is cross-platform. Okay, so we want video ID dot captions. Well, no, video ID dot XML. That's fine, because it's in a folder called captions. So if it's an XML file, it's an XML file. That's fine. So we'll write that there. And then actually, we're going to do this on the other side. So I'm going to return this XML from this function, and then we'll do the writing in a different file. So yeah, this does all the parsing. This returns that. But instead of just returning SRT text, we're going to return the XML, and we're going to return the SRT. And I'm just going to rename my SRT text variable to just SRT. Okay, so this function returns the XML, returns the SRT, and then on the other side, when we call it, we can then write it like this. And so we'll import join from standard path. That. Why not use a folder with the video ID and inside is the XML and the SRT? I'm just worried about too much nesting, because too much nesting might be harder to traverse when we actually start to like process this data. But that could be the way to go, because eventually we could pull in all the metadata from the YouTube API, like the description and maybe the comments, and that could be stored like in a JSON file in the folder. For now, top level. I think eventually, if we come across a situation where it makes sense to put it in a folder, we'll move it out. I think it'll be fine. Cool. So that writes the XML file. We could also create the base directory. Let's do that. We'll create a variable called the captions_dir. This is just data and then captions. And then we can use that in here. Because this will write video.srt with the SRT information, like that. Yeah, I appreciate all the raiders that stuck around. we were literally on the way out. I was like, I'm gonna go write this code later, but yeah, you gave me the energy I needed to get it going. Okay, so this is just gonna be a test run with a single video ID. Can we get the transcript, get back the XML, get back the SRT, and then write it into that directory? Yeah, because that's what I mean. I was thinking that same thing too, Fen, is because eventually we could have other information about the video. Okay, you convinced me. Let's do it. We're gonna. You convinced me. We'll create a directory for the video ID. Deno make dir with the captions directory. And then the video ID. But we want to use that as the base for the next, so I'm going to store that in a variable. Video path is going to be that. And I don't want to read dir, I want to make dir. Make dir with that. Is it the captions path? I mean, the reason I'm calling it video path is eventually we could have like a JSON file inside of there, or I mean, we could even save the video file eventually if we really wanted to. Can I explain change streams on MongoDB? I've never worked with change streams. Captions_dir is what I have. Oh, I updated it. Oh, I see what you're saying. It's a directory, not a path. I could agree with that. Yeah, I could agree with that. Okay, so that's the captions path. You're right. And now I'm more consistent because I called this the video path. Okay. So captions path, video path. Wonderful. I think makedir probably accepts some options like what happens if it already exists? Deno run command makedir. Data, video ID, captions.srt. Yeah, I like that as well. Yeah, you're completely right. These are all great points, okay? I realize when you have this many people in a room, we're basically like mob programming, but yeah, it would make sense that you don't have a nested captions directory. You instead have a directory for the video, and then inside of there, we can say like captions.xml and captions.srt. And thank you for the sub. Is it 4,100 per? Thank you. Thank you so much. Standard FS has ensure directory. That's probably what we'll use then. Did we already bring in standard FS? No, let's add it. Oh, thank you, Vinny. Appreciate the Prime. Because we could write, we're programmers, we could write the code that says, does the directory exist? If not, make the directory. But we're also lazy programmers, so we're going to let the standard library do it for us. Make directory -p. We could run a system command. Asynchronously ensures that the directory exists, like make dir -p. Okay, so we have our data directory inside the, and this isn't the captions path anymore. This is now the data path. So inside the data path, create a folder with this video ID, or make sure that that folder exists, and then write the captions.xml, write the captions.srt. Deno might have a way to do that. Well, the standard library is from Deno. I think like there's a whole deal where if they decide that maybe this doesn't belong inside of Deno, they'll push it to the standard library because the standard library is maintained by Deno. I think literally the Deno way of doing it is if await Deno dot reader, or like you might do like a reader. Throws error if path is not a directory. And then, I mean, maybe you like try catch it, but ensure. Yeah, Deno doesn't have a built-in ensure directory. Hello, Wintos, says have a nice day. Appreciate that. This looks fine. I think this is all we need. It's the same thing as make dir with recursive true. Let's try it. Bogdanovich is mentioning deno.stat. I guess that will tell you resolves to a file info for the specified path. Okay, and then that file info object would tell us whether or not the thing exists. Okay. Let's see if it works. It didn't crash. So I guess that's a good way to go. Thank you, Fen, for mentioning that. So if you say recursive true, then it actually does create the folder if it didn't exist. And then it created the captions file. It created the captions.xml. Beautiful. That's it. Now we just do it for all the video IDs. What's the plugin that make the docs not overlay your code? What do you mean by that? Like the fact that it is below where my cursor is? When I hover over stuff like it's, oh, I didn't do anything special for that. I think it just kind of figures out where to put that. I don't know. Yeah, nothing special. Yeah, we are going to git ignore this data folder. That's a good call. Because we don't want to push that data folder. I mean, we could push the data folder to Git, but yeah, I don't want to push the data folder to Git. The idea is this is like a script that could be running on a server somewhere that runs like once a day to go grab all of the videos. Or all of the captions, sorry. Okay, so this is the code we need. Now we do it for everything. So this is the code that gets the latest video IDs, but I think what I want to do is after we have all of the videos, for each of them, if the directory does not exist, create it and download the captions. So we'll do that right here. And I want this to be blocking. I only want to download one caption at a time because I don't want to fire off 500 requests to YouTube instantly. So, I mean, you could do a set timeout. I'm just going to do like a blocking await inside of a for loop. So we could say, we could do, we'll do a for video. Why not? Of all videos. I think, did we type this correctly? Nice. It's of type item, which should have the stuff that we need. And so here we can say video ID is video.id.video ID. Look at that. We can destructure it. Okay, so I think what I want to do first is we'll use deno.stat to see if the directory exists. So if video path stat, what does this give us back? It is asynchronous, so we got to await it. And then it is a file info. We got rid of -watch last time because it ate into all of our YouTube API quota. Like the script was rerunning every time we saved it, and then when we went to go actually try it, we ran out of quota. So yeah, I removed the watch a while back. Captions could change after the initial upload and capture, like when manually uploading. That's true. So we could do a to-do where in the future force it to download new captions. For now, we'll just assume if the directory exists, then the captions already exist. Okay. Is there an exists function on here or method on here? Is file? Is directory? So if it's not, then we're going to do this. I think. Oh, yeah, okay. So is file is how you can see, does the file exist? And I guess is directory is how you can see if the directory exists. That makes sense. I guess we'll do a little bit of logging. Getting transcript for video ID. Okay. YouTube quota, do you mean there's some YouTube credits, just limit per period of time? Yeah, so if you look at the YouTube API docs, your YouTube API key has a certain amount of quota. And that's like, yeah, a certain amount of requests that can be made per day, or a certain amount of units you get per day. And I think by default, you get 10,000 units. Every API call you make counts towards those units. And so if you were to use their captions download, that would count as 200 units. If you use the search endpoint, that counts as 100 units. So every request you make to their API counts towards your quota. Okay, so we get the captions. Then we should wait until we do the next one. So we're not just firing off the points. It's 10,000 per day. So yeah, it renews every 24 hours. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna do a little set timeout right here that at a minimum is gonna wait 5 seconds, but could wait at most 10 seconds. So minimum, we'll do 5,000 seconds plus math.random times 5,000. So always at least 5 seconds, but it could be 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10 seconds, or somewhere in between. So this is just going to make it super random and look like we're not, it'll make it look less like a bot, that it's requesting like every 5 seconds. This will be like 5, then 6, then 7, then 10. Yeah, at this point, like if in the real world, if you're doing like massive data gathering, you potentially might use proxies or things like that. In this case, I'm just going to let this run on my machine to get all the data. And it should be fine. Yeah, we're hacking now. The one issue right now, though, is I don't have any error handling, but I think that's okay because if this errors out, our logic already says if the directory exists, don't even try making the request for it. Should be fine. Here we go. Let's. Yeah, it should be fine. It should be fine. If it throws an error, I'm okay with the program crashing, and then I'll come look at it later today. So here we go. Moment of truth. Well, not found. No such file or directory. Stat data. Okay, stat throws an error. I thought this was supposed to not throw an error. Can you pass in an option to not throw an error? We didn't have any error handling, so this is what happens. That's why you use ensure directory. You're the one that told me I should use stat instead. But what I don't want ensure directory. What I want is, does this directory exist? Because I don't want to create it if it already exists, or if it doesn't exist. Deno check if directory exists. Is there? I don't see an isder. Okay. Their examples have it in a try catch. I like your logic as well there, then, is like create the directory, but then ultimately it's not if the directory exists. It's do the captions file exists. So make sure that that directory exists. And then we'll here just say captions exist. Default to false. And then we'll do a try catch of stat. The thing is, we did already install the FS from standard library. So they could have a function for us. Yeah, they have an exists function. Let's just use this. And then we'll call this the captions XML path. And then we'll call this the captions SRT path. And then we'll check for both of them. Move the file and directory checking to a reusable function. Yeah, I mean, I could extract all of this out. I don't know. It kind of makes sense to exist right here. But let's see. Test whether or not the given path exists by checking with the file system. Yeah, so if Yeah, okay, here comes some cleverness, all right? We want to call exists for both of these. So first of all, we'll just put those into an array, right? We'll have exists with the captions XML path and the exists with the captions SRT path. If either of these do not exist, we want to run the code below. Okay, so these are two things that are going to fire off a promise. We could do, or we are going to do, promise.all. Okay? So that's going to wait for both of those to complete. It's going to give us back an array of 2 booleans, right? Yeah. But we don't want to check both of them. We don't want, I mean, we could technically do it asynchronously, but all I want to do is I just want to bust out the every method, because that's built into arrays. This is really all I was going to show you. It's not that fancy, but basically grab that, and then if every one of these is true, then collapse it down to a single boolean. That's really all I wanted to show you. Take an array of booleans and turn it into a single boolean. Because this will make sure, like, so if either one of these is false, captions exist will be false. Right? Okay. You aren't impressed. That's okay. Readability thrown out the window. Here we go. Okay. Getting the transcript for that video. Great. Thank you, Lyndon. I appreciate that. Why is it taking so long? I have it set to not fetch if the captions exist. Oh, you're right. It should be not. It should be not. It should be not exist. Yeah, it's just creating the directories. So it just wasn't logging out. That's the issue. Okay. Fetch if either of the captions do not exist, make the API request. Okay, here it is. The first try on the 10th try. There we go. Okay. And then I probably just got rate limited by their API. Well, my friends, this is for me to figure out. I'm gonna go run the. I'm gonna figure. I am curious though. If we just log the HTML response, I bet YouTube has now started rate limiting me because I just keep calling their API. This is the point where we got to figure stuff out. Make sure to test if only one exists. Does it overwrite both files or fill on the one that was existing? Well, in my case, I want to overwrite both of them because the XML file is the source of truth. And if we're, yeah, and I don't know. I think the logic of overwriting both of them is fine because ultimately we're going to be overwriting the XML file, which means the SRT file would need to be updated. So yeah, let's see what happened. I think we can look at the response, because basically our little scraper right here that tries to reach in, isn't working for one of them. Okay. This is all the data that we get back. It's possible that some videos don't have captions. Oh, I didn't think about this. I do believe there was a time period where automatic uploads did not turn captions on by default. And it's possible that this is one of those videos. Thank you, Speedstrat. Thank you for the sub. Does it overwrite if it exists? It will. Oh, I see what you're saying. I need to pass in an option for that. Write text file, I believe, takes in options and Yeah, I'll figure out what that video ID is, and then we'll go confirm that it doesn't actually have captions. What do I want to do here? Create. Append? Oh, I think it will overwrite by default. Yeah. Okay. Here's what we'll do. Yeah, I disabled the redemptions because a lot of them are just like out of date. All right. If this splitting fails, we're going to throw an error. Yeah, you're right. I do need to take a sip of water. Yeah, if the parsing fails, honestly, we can just swallow that error and then say no captions found. Pass in the video ID. Like that. And so if this throws an error, then this is going to throw an error. So we're going to try catch this. Log the error, and then keep on scraping. Okay. This is the way. What percentage you agree more with? More try catches, more unarchitected code? It's tricky because a lot of times, like, yeah, seeing a try catch everywhere, it kind of just, it looks like, what's the word? Boilerplatey, you know, it's a lot of extra stuff. Okay, but if we go to this specific one, what's up, Limotes? Welcome in. Hey. Oh, that makes sense. That's today's video. Of course there are no transcripts for today's video. It hasn't finished. It's still live. It's still live. Yeah, that makes total sense. Cool. Yeah, beautiful. Okay, so now we let this run. I'm gonna go eat some lunch. And by, I don't know, a couple days from now, I'll have a folder full of all of my transcripts. Yeah. Sorry, stupid question. Why not just set a breakpoint and step debug all of it? Isn't that possible? It is possible. I didn't want to do that. In this case, I had a feeling that it was because this one specific video didn't have a caption on it. In other scenarios, yeah, you can set a breakpoint and debug it. What's up, Monkafrog? Yes, this is live right now. Are the transcripts actually downloading now? That's actually a great thing to figure out. That has a caption. There's a caption in there. There's one in there. Is there actual data in there? There is. Every single one of these should start with hello, friends. That's how I start my streams. Hello, friends. Welcome to Coding Garden. Hello, friends. Yep. And if captions.srt has content, then captions.xml definitely has content because that's what it's based on. Write a unit test to make sure they all say hello, friends. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, it's working. Okay. So, I think at this point, I can push this code up. I don't think there's anything secret in here. I'll push it up so you can actually see the latest code. Oh, thank you, Octor. I appreciate the applause. Validate one of them? It's probably valid, right? Okay, yeah, this is like a random QA. Pick a random one, pick a random SRT file, pass it into the SRT validator. Perfect. That means they're all correct, right? There's no way we made any mistakes. Cool. And yeah, I'm gonna push this code up. Yeah, I don't have my envs are already ignored because I pushed up the code last time. I can get rid of these example files. I don't need these. Thank you, Lucas. Thank you for the sub over on YouTube. We got that. Cool. Yeah, let's commit. Show the env so you can verify it. No, thank you. Yeah, good to see you, Sean. I mean, I do have to go, though. I have to eat some lunch and get to work. But if you want to see the code that I wrote today, it is over on GitHub. You can see the code here. And like I said, I'm just going to leave this running and come back. And next time, we should have a folder full of captions, and then we can do something with it. I think it would be fun to explore creating like vector embeddings and then using like LLMs, that kind of thing. Yeah, that could be fun. No, the repo is public. Yeah, everything that I write on the Coding Garden is here on the... Is it private? Man, I was just about to say, everything I write on the Coding Garden is free and open source. let me make it public. AI generated Coding Garden videos coming soon, maybe. The thing is, you could create a CJ chatbot, right? Like, I guess all it's trained on is me talking about coding related stuff, but that's all I really do anyways. All of this data is me. It's literally me. Okay, it's public now. So yeah, everything I write on the Coding Garden, I release it under the MIT license. You can go fork it, change it, all that good stuff. Yeah, of course, Houston. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate all the raiders that stuck around as well. Right now, I don't have a streaming schedule. I pretty much just go live once a week. Sometimes it's Monday morning. Sometimes it's Wednesdays. Sometimes it's Fridays. So yeah, it's not regular, but you can catch me over on Syntax. So I'm posting pretty much 2 videos a week, sometimes 1 video a week, where I dive into like technical topics and stuff like that. So definitely follow us over on the Syntax channel. And then all of the Coding Garden streams get uploaded to or live streamed across YouTube. What's the word? Simulcasted to YouTube as well. So if you want to watch from the beginning or even see last stream, you can check it out over on YouTube. But yeah, I only do about like 1 stream a week these days because I'm full time over at Syntax working on videos and stuff like that. All right, that's it. Thanks everybody for hanging out. We got work done. This is good. we wrote the code to do the thing. And next time we'll do even more. Yeah. So next time I'll do a little bit of research ahead of time. Like, are we going to create vector embeddings? Are we going to like train a model? Maybe we just use something like Elasticsearch that can like search across SRTs. I might even research to see if there's any existing solutions out there that are like, given a bunch of caption files, easily search across them, that kind of thing. Okay, but that's all I got for you. Stick around for the raid. We'll continue this raid train. We'll send you on to some other channel. If you're watching over on YouTube, head to twitch.tv/codinggarden. You can join us in the raid. Let's practice our raid messages. we've got this raid message. You can also continue on with the chroot raid message if you'd like to. If you're a sub, you can use that raid message. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate you all. Alrighty, everyone. Wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night. And until next time, here's this. And thanks for all the follows, too. I appreciate everybody that came in from the raid and followed. We'll see you next week sometime.